Hello, fellow Crusaders, and welcome to the season finale of Decades of Action. My name is Sean Wascoop. With me, as always, is Brian Michaels. We hope you guys have been through us with this journey as we went through the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, and the 2010s of action. We are now in the 2020s. Yes, it has not even been a half decade of 2020s, but we have plenty of movies to talk about because there has been actually some really, really good action in these last, it's April of 2025. Let's just say the first 4 years, since we're not even halfway through the fifth year of the decade.
Well, if you're counting 2020, then we already have 5 years. We're at 5.5 almost.
True. But it's we definitely have some good movies here to talk about. But we are, like I said, this is the season finale of it. We will be coming back here later in the year for our next decades of. I don't think we've pinned down which one we want to do next, but we have a list. There's 5 more of these we're going to do, guys. So just... we don't know which one we're going to do next, but we have 5 different categories we're going to do.
Feel free to comment if you have an opinion.
Yeah, if there's one you want to see first, whether it be comedy, sci-fi, fantasy, comic book movies, whatever. Don't do drama. We're not going to do drama. So just
adult film. No.
Yeah, we are going to do XXX, the decades of porn.
Yikes.
Let's have that conversation. Fuck.
Look how the hairstyles have changed. And I don't mean up here. No.
Yes, and the music. But we're here talking about action. Now, Brian and I were both saying this going into, before we hit record, we're like, how are we going to talk about 2020 so far? Because obviously we were talking about how 2010s with Taken in the 20s and then, or the 2000s, and then John Wick in 2010s, that the main facet, the main focal point of action that has worked has been basically the revenge film or the older actor doing an action movie kind of thing. And I don't think that necessarily that has gone away. That's still, relatively strong. I can look at least 2 or 3 movies on my list that I'm like, that fits that criteria. But I would say more so 2020s, I feel like it's been more broad. Would you say that, or would you say it's been more narrow?
I think it has. It's funny because when we were talking about, especially in the 2010s, how everything became about franchises. Like the only things that were bankable, that the studios would really put, effort and money behind, was these known franchises with occasional kind of something original would come out. And so I'm thinking, of course, in the 2020s, it's going to be more of the same, right? And then I make my list, I'm looking at it, and 80% of this stuff is all original, or at least it's at least the first one was original, because it's like I think that is because of streaming, honestly, because obviously with 2020 hit COVID, every company decided to put out their own streaming network. Mm-hmm. Some of them have survived, some of them have not. Some of them have merged and combined. But I think that it gave studios an avenue to make films that they thought, maybe this won't make huge box office, but we can still make these movies, and sometimes for a better budget. Sometimes it shows, sometimes it doesn't. But they can still have a life, even if it's just on streaming. And while I would love to see this on, the big screen, I'm just happy that there's still original action being made.
Yeah, I would say all my underrated, except for potentially one, are all streaming. They're all movies that have come out on the streaming services that were not theatrically released. Which, like Brian and I said, Brian and I have said this many, many times. We love to shit on streaming films because they feel lazy. They feel just kind of thrown together for a quick buck and thrown on. But when they are good, mm-hmm. They're great. And we will praise the fuck out of them. And my underrated is basically doing exactly that. It's praising great stuff that actually went out there and basically, and none of mine, I think one of them has only really one big name actor in it. Everyone else is a bunch of people that most people either forgotten about, or they don't know them, or they're low-level actors. And I say low-level, I mean, you see them and stuff, they're usually the best friend or the villain or something. They're not leading man or leading woman type characters. So I'm actually really happy with how my underrated has turned out. But even looking at my faves list, only one is a franchise, which we talked about last episode, which, duh, if you haven't figured that out yet. The other one, it's a sequel, but it's not like a franchise by any means. And the other ones are all original films, original ideas, original context. And that was kind of been the one thing that, and I mean, especially this week with, or last week with Sinners coming out, is everyone's like, oh, people are afraid to make, to do original films because they're not going to make as much money. And they're even saying, even though Sinners had a great weekend, that it might not make back its budget for anything. And it's like, this is why people don't do originality anymore. It's like, but when originality works, it fucking works.
Well, I won't get into a whole tangent on that, but I will say one criticism of that whole argument is like, I don't think the problem is in the money the movie's making. I think it's more a commentary on how budgets have gotten out of control. There's like no reason that movies cost as much as they do, and it's insane. And so they're like, oh, we can't take a chance in this movie because we'll make its money back. It's like, well, how about you just make it smarter?
Yeah. And and that's the thing, is like, let's even go back to what we were talking about with action. Look at the 80s, look at the 90s. Look what they were able to do with a budget a fraction of what they're doing today. I mean, you can look at Predator, you can look at Aliens, you can look at Terminator 2 Judgment Day. Let's look at what their budgets were compared to the budgets of today. And you're like, fuck, they could do it with that. And granted, now it's like, well, that they use, computer generated, CGI and all this stuff, and that costs more money. It's like, then how about you just fucking don't do that? And
obviously there's things that need to be done that need to be done with CGI, and I love well done CGI, of course, but so much of the things they can do could be done with practical effects, or even for that matter, I'd be happy with practical locations. Like, especially 80% of Netflix movies look like they were entirely shot standing in front of a blue screen or a green screen. And I'm not talking action scenes or space landscapes. I'm talking like okay, what was it, Red Notice or Red Notice, the one with the Rock.
The Rock and
it's
Ryan Reynolds
on that where they're standing on the beach. Like, there's not even an action scene going on. They're standing on the beach talking, or somebody's standing on a boat and with the sea in the background, and it's clearly put in the green screen. It's like, you couldn't have just fucking gone outside and taken that shot. I'm sure it would cost less than what you had to do to CGI that stuff in.
That was one of my problems earlier this year with Captain America: Brave New World. Is like, they're out there just talking outside. Yeah, they're just talking outside, and I was like, I can tell that they're not there, and it's like, just take them there. It's not a big deal. Like, it's not even going to take a day. It might take 3 hours just because you got to move shit around and stuff. Just go out there and shoot the fucking scene.
Yeah.
You don't need to green screen it. It's like, oh yeah, well, you don't say anything. No, we can tell. And when it's something that's based, like if it's like, oh, it's a big fight scene, like let's say Red Hulk and Cap fighting, where the Roses. Yeah. Like, oh, I can understand we can't shoot there.
But not the leaders standing in front of a building talking.
Exactly, but that one scene where leaders literally talking to Cam, I'm like, this looks fake as shit, and we're in 2025. It's inexcusable. Where it's like, in the 80s, the Arnold Schwarzenegger and all of them at Predator, they were in the fucking jungle. Like, they might have been on a studio, but at least it looked like it was a jungle. Like, I don't care if you're shooting in studio, just make it look real. Or if you're on location, even fucking better. Just I don't think it's going to cost as much as you think it's going to cost compared to let's computer generalize this building here and this building here. It's like, it just, But anyway, with 2020s though, at least, especially for Brian and I, originality has definitely been something that we've appreciated a lot more than most. I don't know if that's for everybody, and I think that's things. I think for most people it is, but studios don't want to listen to that shit. Studios don't think, well, they just don't make the money. Well, yeah, but they're more appreciated. Well, we don't care about people appreciating the movies anymore. All we care about is the bottom line. And granted, you're going to have your franchises that are going to work and that are going to hit every single time. And, the John Wicks of it all. But I'm looking at this list and I'm like, these are all original films for the most part. I would love to see these guys come back and do these again. But once again, we're now starting to go into a franchise mode there as well. But like, there are so many of these that I love the stories. I love the characters. I love the action that we got with these. And I would love to see these people come back and do another one. Doesn't have to be the same characters. It could be the same cast. Because that's something you're seeing more and more now. More so, it was kind of more like in the 2000s for like the comedy people. But now you're starting to see it more and more where actors and directors, they're like this now. Like McQuarrie and Cruise. They're always together now. Michael B. Jordan and Ryan Coogler, they're always together now. Leo and Scorsese, or Leo and Spielberg, or stuff like that. Like you're seeing Brad Pitt now with Tarantino. It's just like you're seeing more and more of, I love how this guy works either way, and I want to continue to work with this person. And Stahelski with Keanu is another one. I'm fine with people coming back and working with the same people. And if they want to do sequels, fine. But I'm more open to, let's do something different with these people. And let's go do this. Like with Cruise and McQuarrie, it didn't start with Mission Impossible. It didn't start with Jack Reacher.
His first directed one was with Tom Cruise with Reacher. He had done some writing on things like Valkyrie and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But the first one he directed Cruise in was Jack Reacher. Yeah.
And then it went all into the Mission Impossibles. And I'm sure even after Mission Impossible's done potentially this year, it's not like McQuarrie and Cruise are going to stop working together. They're going to do some other shit, potentially. Or Cruise is going to say, hey, I don't really want to do this action anymore. And then we're going to start seeing Cruise go into the actual, like, I'm going to go back to drama, which I don't know if anyone
even then, I mean, McQuarrie started out and stuff like writing things like Usual Suspects. So he can do stuff that's non-action.
Yeah, he's totally capable of it. But yeah, steering back to the action aspect, there are some great action films in here, and then there are some that just have some of the most amazing scenes. And like I said, I will say, was it late teens, or was it in the 2000s when the one shot really became like a top tier action thing?
In terms of action,
was it 2000s? Or 2020s, I mean, 2020s.
I want to say it's more in the 2020s because, I mean, one shots were more the kind of thing you saw in something like, a Goodfellas or a movie like that, where they do these long one shots. Sometimes they're kind of hidden cuts. Sometimes they're not. Sometimes they actually do it in one shot. But I think by the time you hit the 2020s, both in terms of the technology available to them and how they could, manipulate it and make everything seamlessly go together, I think that it became even more prominent in the 2020s.
I will say the first time that I legit not remember, but more like it took a focal point. Granted, it was in 2010s. Was when Netflix's Daredevil, their first or second episode, they did the hallway scene, and then that became a staple point for every season of Daredevils. They had to have a one shot action sequence. I think season 2 they were in it was in an apartment building, and it went down the hallway, down the fire escape stairs, and all the way down to the bottom. And that was TV, that wasn't movies. Now we got movies, which we're going to be talking about, one that has one of the best, if not the best, one take, or at least visually it's a one take. We know they do magic cuts, but it was a one take, and it is one of the most awesome fucking one takes I've ever seen ever. And I don't know if it's on your list. If it's not, I'll be shocked.
But it did not make my list, but I'm glad that you're bringing it up because it's one I wanted to talk about for sure.
Okay. But that is something that we are seeing more and more of. John Wick Chapter 4 has a phenomenal one take. I'll say that because we know we're talking about that one at some point. But there's so many movies that have these amazing one takes, and that's kind of taken over for action. Not all of them need it, but when it happens and it's good, it's special. And that's something that I think a lot of action directors and everything are really like. I don't think it's needed in everyone, but when they do it, everyone takes notice.
It's one of those things that can seem very gimmicky, but it's the matter of, does it serve a purpose of the story to have it in one take, like you're following one character through like a battle or whatever, or are you doing it just to be like, hey, look at my flashy filmmaking style, I can do it in one take? So I think as long as it serves the story and you're not like, it doesn't make you hyper aware of, because a lot of times they'll do these one take things and you don't even realize it till you're like, wait a minute,
you're halfway through,
like 6 minutes. Did they cut you? Yeah,
it's like halfway through, like this is all together. Oh my god! Or in the case of one that we're talking about, I think what 18, 19 minutes or something. Like that?
Yeah. It took the first one we did it, and the second one said hold my beer. So yeah,
exactly. The second one said, I'm not even don't hold my beer, hold my keg. Like it's just like, well, you think that was fuck you. Wait till you see what I do. But let's go ahead and jump into these. Let's go ahead and go with overrated. Kind of with 2010s. I don't really, my overrated is like okay, but I'm not super in love with my overrated. It's like I picked 4 movies technically that I wasn't crazy about, but I also don't feel like everyone was over the moon about these either in terms of the action. So
See, my overrated, it's like there's a couple movies that I actually like. Just there's at least one that I didn't really care for. But I became increasingly more and more, are these action? Because Letterboxd
mine
action,
are
there's definitely
definitely
action scenes in them, but we'll see.
mine are definitely action. But I don't know if like everyone like we did in the 2000s, 90s, and 80s where everyone was losing their shit, and you're like, I don't get it. I just don't get it. Or Dunkirk, like on last episode. I don't feel like people lost their minds on these, but when I went back to my list, I'm like, these are the ones that at least stand out to me. That I'm like, these aren't as great. But let's go ahead and jump into it. Do you have any honorable mentions for overrated?
I have one honorable mention, and the reason it's my honorable mention is because it's kind of a cheat. Before we go into our lists, in case you, for some reason, decide to start this series by watching the 2020s, we are not including comic book films. Comic book films are a huge part of the action genre, of course, but they're also kind of their own subgenre, so we are going to do those by themselves at some point. So
Yeah,
we are
we'll
not.
definitely be doing a decades of comic book movies. Probably won't do like 80s for it because there's like Batman and that's like fucking it. But yeah.
I can do that straight to video like Punisher and Captain America.
Fantastic. No, that was the 90s.
There you go. But lost my train of thought. So, but Sean and I have once or twice throughout these things, we've had like, we're going to cheat and throw this one in there because I want to talk about this one. Partially because I was having a hard time coming up with things I really thought were overrated. So I did want to mention this, but only make an honorable mention. It's Deadpool and Wolverine.
You're gonna shit on Deadpool and Wolverine.
I like Deadpool and Wolverine, but people just go crazy about this movie like it's the best comic book movie since Avengers Endgame or something like that. And it's just, there's so many things about the action scenes. I will say the action scenes are pretty fucking cool. There's a couple things here and there I didn't like, but for the most part, the action scenes are awesome. My problem is mostly with the story itself. And you know how I fucking hate multiverse. I've been sick of multiverse forever. I'll be happy when they finally fucking wrap up multiverse. I feel like, bringing back some cameos, while amusing for a minute, I hate the fact that they're kind of mixing the different, like the Fox verse with the Disney, Marvel universe. Because then people are just like, oh, maybe they'll bring Hugh Jackman into the MCU. It's like, no, they're fucking not. Stop that.
They might. They might now, especially because of Deadpool and Wolverine.
I feel like there's so many better ways they could have brought Hugh Jackman into this movie. I didn't really love his whole backstory of like, oh, I wasn't home, so I'm guilty for everyone getting slaughtered. That's kind of bullshit. But there's just a lot of things about this movie in terms of the main story of it are what I didn't really enjoy so much about it. It's kind of like people criticize things for having too much, member berries, like, oh, little cameos and fan service. And this movie definitely had plenty of that. And while I did enjoy the movie, definitely plenty of great comedy in it, plenty of great action in it. Overall, I'm just like, it didn't do it for me the way it seemed to for everyone else. So I'm making that my honorable mention because this comic movie for most overrated.
Okay, I'm gonna get this out of the way. I love Deadpool Wolverine. It was one of my favorite films last year, more so because of I love Hugh Jackman's Wolverine. He's one of my favorite characters. Every Deadpool movie is overrated because people lose their goddamn minds over Deadpool. I thought this when Deadpool came out. Everyone's like, "Oh my god, Deadpool's the great." I'm like, no, Ryan Reynolds is great as Deadpool, but the movie around him is not really all that great. Deadpool 2, same fucking thing. It's not a great movie. Ryan Reynolds is great in it, but the movie around him's not so strong. I didn't agree with that with Deadpool and Wolverine. I actually finally was like, okay, I'm actually cool with everything here. But Deadpool's franchise as a whole is overrated as shit. I can still like it, which I do. But everyone just needs to calm the fuck down when it comes to the Deadpool movies. And I think it's just more or less because Ryan Reynolds brings something new and different to comic book films as Deadpool that everyone's just like, oh my god, it's the best thing ever. And it's like, no, he's good. I have never had a problem with Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool. I will always champion him. But the movies around him have not been great. But I love Deadpool Wolverine. So I don't have a problem with the whole multiverse thing. I like the member berries for this. I think the characters, and I know it's mainly Gambit for you and like stuff like that. I loved that stuff. I thought it was great. I think it could have ended better, but I enjoy the movie for what it is. So yeah, I had a feeling when you said comic movies, I'm like, he's gonna fucking bring up Deadpool and Wolverine. God damn it.
But I'm not bashing it. I never said it was a bad movie. Anyway.
No, it's just more like I now know that like you're gonna come at me with two movies that I know that I enjoy. Now that you kind of gave away the other one before you went on air. So my overrated, I have an honorable mention, but it coincides with my number 3, so it's kind of like 2 and 2 together.
Okay.
We talked about this franchise last episode. As you talked about it in, I want to say it was your faves. You talked about it. Now, granted, you're not going to defend this because you and I both were in agreement that these ones have been horrible. I'm talking about the Fast and Furious franchise. And there are we both were like, yeah, we like 5, we like 6, we like 7. I think we're both tolerable with 8. But then came out F9 and FX or F10, whatever the fuck you want to call it. These movies have completely lost the plot. And I'm not even talking about the original plot of Fast and Furious when it was just like Point Break with cars.
2009.
Yeah, it's lost everything now, and I think that they're just like, what crazy shit can we do next? And I have always had a big problem with, and even in 6, the one that you were praising, that was when I finally threw my hands up on the whole fucking thing. I can't stand how invulnerable these people are because they're not superheroes. They're regular fucking human beings, but fucking Vin Diesel can leap off of a tank, catch Letty in midair, and land on a car, and neither one of them have a scratch. I'm sorry, Letty would have died. Vin would have died. They both would have been obliterated in that scene, but not even a fucking scar, or bleeding or anything like that. And you might get the occasional, like trickle blood, and it's like, fuck you. FX or F10 fucking ends with like a fucking dam breaking going into Dom. It's like, you're not gonna survive that, motherfucker. But we know there's a part 2, and we know him and his kid definitely wouldn't survive. Are somehow going to survive this thing. But yeah, I mean, F9, you had this stupid, like, we're going to shoot a car into space and somehow it's going to fucking work and you're not going to die and all this bullshit. And then you're going to land
safely. They had duct tape, duh.
Yeah, exactly. And you're going to land safely back down on Earth. If that shit was legit, NASA would still be shooting people off into space because all they need is a roll of duct tape in a car. Everything about F9 and F10 have just made me just start to hate this franchise. And the characters are the characters. Like, I can enjoy them verbally when they're talking. Like, Tyrese, I don't care for Tyrese as a person, but I enjoy Tyrese in these movies because he's just fucking funny. Ludacris is not a good actor, but I can tolerate him in the Fast and Furious films. Vin Diesel's fucking Vin Diesel. And The Rock's The Rock, and Statham and all, they're fine. But no one can stay dead. They also just randomly come back. It's like, no, you died. And, now apparently, like, Gal Gadot's alive. Like, motherfucker, you fell off a moving plane onto a tarmac. Your body would have been, just shredded. But, yeah, you're alive. Okay, cool. And it's just more or less like, oh, no, we got them back because Wonder Woman failed. Okay, cool. Yeah, and then Han, you blew up, motherfucker. Like, you're dead. No, he's back. And it's just everything about this stuff works. Now, or doesn't work. The action set pieces, are they potentially cool? Yes, but you take the realm of reelability out of it, and at this point, it's just Looney Tunes with cars. And it takes me out of the movie every fucking time. At least with FX or F10, and I know Brian doesn't care for this part of the film, the only thing that kept me in the movie was Jason Momoa, because he knows exactly what fucking film.
Therein lies the problem, is that Jason Momoa was a ton of fun in that movie. I will admit Jason Momoa was a ton of fun in the movie. The problem is he was in a whole different movie than everybody else, and like
he knew
everybody needed to be in his movie, or he needed to be more like in their movie. It's like as it was like just felt so.
He knows how fucking ridiculous this franchise has become. He played the role to the exact, tempo that this franchise has become, which is a joke. Vin Diesel still thinks, I'm going to win an Oscar for this. No, fucker, you won't. You will never win an Oscar for your Dom Toretto appearance or performance. Get off of that. Momoa knew exactly how fucking ridiculous this franchise is, and he's out there full on just jokering it up, and I fucking love the hell out of him for it. And I appreciate the fuck out of him for what he did in F10, and I can't wait to see what he does in F11 or F10 Part 2, whatever the fuck they're going to call it.
2, I believe it's called.
Yeah, it's fucking F11. God damn it. But I'm so just frustratingly annoyed and over this franchise.
Yeah. And I have a feeling Fast 11. I have a feeling 11 is going to have some. It's going to change. It's going to be like Fast and Furious, something, a subtitle. I don't think they'll put a number on it because it's supposedly ending it off. I think that they did learn from the last two because they've gotten so much critical, bashing from it, even from their fans, and then the box office has definitely dropped down in these last two. That they've said they're kind of bringing it back to basics for the finale. And if that's true, great. I don't believe them.
I don't believe you for a second.
I only believe them because Universal's like, okay, if you're going to make another one, if you're going to make the second part, we're giving you way less budget for it because you're not making this money back. So maybe they'll have to strip it down. I don't know.
How much you want to bet John Cena's still alive?
Everybody's still alive. Everybody's still pop up.
There's no fucking reason John Cena should still be alive based on how he died in 10. But I guarantee you, he is still alive.
Because like I was a huge defender of Fast and Furious all the way through 8. Most people were fans of it, generally speaking, through like 6 and 7. By the time they 8, like, oh, they shouldn't have made 8. And I enjoyed 8. I had no problem with it.
Because 7 had the perfect ending.
7 had the perfect ending to it. I agree. but 8, just as a movie, I quite enjoyed it quite a bit actually. But then 9 was just such complete dog shit that I was ready to give up on the franchise. And I almost didn't. I was almost like, I'm not going to see 10. It's just fucking too stupid. But then, some things looked decent about it. Jason Momoa looked like he was having fun in it. So I'm like, I'll check it out. And it was definitely a huge improvement over 9. It still wasn't what I can call a good movie. But it had some good things. And of course, once again, just like Mission Impossible did with Henry Cavill, they decided to say, fuck you, Brian. And they waste Alan Richardson by saying, no, we're going to make him a villain. Like, fuck you. I want him to be a good guy in these movies.
Yeah, but at least he's gonna be in more than one movie, though.
Yeah, well, he's got to be in the next one at least because he lived and you shot him down. But
I like
franchise. The only reason I would not have put these on my underrated, and this is not critical of you. This is just my thinking. Was that
overrated?
My thinking was that I think most people agree with you. They definitely. I mean, they still made money, but not near what they have made in the past. And critically, they obviously got completely trashed.
You don't work with the people that I work with who hold a fucking torch to this franchise. Like, you cannot say a single bad thing about this. Shut the fuck up. Yes, I can. But
why I said it's like I'm not criticizing your placement of them on here. It's just in my experience, in my world, I've heard mostly people that bash it, and so it's like, okay, whatever.
And for the record, I don't hate 8. My problem with 8 is that it should have never been made because 7 was perfect ending. And 8 was when Vin Diesel was like, I could win an Oscar for this. And it's like, he started just everyone else knew what movie they were in. Vin is an entirely different film than everybody else. But that was my 3 and honorable. So go ahead with yours.
My number 3 is a franchise. When I talked about last time, or no, 2 shows ago, I think it was. This is No Time to Die, James Bond.
And you just have a hate for Daniel Craig.
Now, when I talked about James Bond, I don't remember which one I put on there before.
It was Skyfall, which was the best fucking one.
It was Skyfall, which again is probably the best one of the Daniel Craig ones. But again, didn't hate that movie. I liked the movie. But that one I remember saying was kind of more representative of the franchise at the time because I didn't like how they'd gone so serious and dour and kind of gotten away from the fun James Bond. This one is more for the movie itself. Again, it's a good movie that I enjoy parts of. But again, people praise it as one of the best. They have this great ending for the Daniel Craig, version of it. And to me, it's like so many things about this, again, story-wise, just missed for me because first and foremost, you got Anna de Armas in your movie, and you fucking waste her. She should have been like the Bond girl that tags along for the entire thing, but no, she gets like 1 20-minute scene and then she's gone. That's just a waste. So I'm glad we're
I
finally getting
don't
her
disagree with you.
ballerina this year. You spend way too much time with Leah Sadu or whatever her name is.
Yeah.
Her character
Which
never
I didn't even buy the relationship in the film previous to that.
Yeah, I didn't like her the first time, and they decided to bring her back and make her a major focus of this movie. Like, fuck that. I certainly don't need James Bond Jr. in this thing. His whole death, which you either can believe because Daniel Craig's ending his thing, or not believe because they're going to continue it on. But Bond is kind of this weird thing where they kind of reboot it. So I don't know if continuity necessarily has to be a thing. And it also feels more bloated than most of the Bond movies. It felt its length, especially when you get in that last act. You're like, okay, come on, let's speed this up a bit. So while there are definitely things about the movie I liked, I enjoyed the movie for the most part. There was enough about it that I'm just like, I don't agree with the people that just praise this as one of the best Bond films.
I don't agree with it being one of the best Bond films. I think you have Casino Royale and you have Skyfall and then you have the rest. Like, that's how I feel with Daniel Craig.
I would definitely agree with that. Yeah.
You have 2 fantastic Bond films, and then you've got 3 others that are okay. I remember watching No Time to Die and being excited for it because Ana de Armas, Rami Malek as a villain. I was like, ooh, that's gonna be interesting, and that was fucking.
See, I don't like Rami Malek.
I am tolerable. You didn't watch what's a Bad Robot?
I watched maybe the first whole season, at least part of the first season of Mr. Robot. And then I'd seen him in like Bohemian Rhapsody and things like that, which...
Well, technically you also saw him in Night of the Museum also, because we all saw him in that. But it was just, I'm fine with Malik, but I was just more like, ooh, him as a villain? I didn't know that was a fucking option there. Let's see and it really wasn't anything. And yes, the best part of No Time to Die is Ana de Armas. I'm not going to argue that. That's 1,000%.
And I forgot, I was just looking back on my review. Part of the reason I was mad about them wasting Ana de Armas is because they gave so much attention to Lashana Lynch. And I'm like, I didn't like her. Like, why didn't you let Ana de Armas be that role instead?
I think Lashana Lynch was fine in what she was told to do. I think they could have utilized her way fucking better than they did. I think that they kind of did a disservice to her in the movie because I think Lashana Lynch is actually a very capable actress. We've seen her.
I liked her in things like Woman King and stuff like that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, she's totally capable of being a badass, and I think they just did her dirty because once again, Leah Sadu got way too much screen time. That subplot didn't work for me at all. Even the whole ending, No Time to Die, I thought was okay. I didn't love it. Like I said, because with me, Daniel Craig, you have top tier Royale and Skyfall, and then everything else is kind of like here for me.
Yeah, the last line of my review was, I mean, it's still enjoyable enough. I still give it a 3.5 out of 5. It's just a rather unenthusiastic 3.5.
I can't even remember what I gave it. I can't remember if I gave it a 3.5 or a 4, just because even though I don't like the story that I'm getting, I can appreciate everything that's happening on screen. It's good. I don't love it, but it's good because there's no bad Daniel Craig Bond. It's just there's ones that are fucking way more enjoyable, and then there are ones that you're just like, okay, I watched it, that's fine.
You give it a 4, yeah.
I give it a 4. It sounds like I probably would have given it a 4, which for me would have been like a low 4, which is like a 75%, score technically. But I've got 2. You got 2, or where are you at? 2. Okay. My next one is one that we talked about last year. It came out last year. I know Brian and I are in agreement. I can see Brian saying that this doesn't deserve to be an overrated, but it deserves to be shit on. And that's Gladiator 2.
Mm-hmm.
We praised Gladiator in the 2000s, and it deserves every praise it got. Then there was Gladiator 2. Say what you want about the story. Say what you want about the casting, because we all have. We ad nauseum have talked about how much we dislike this movie. But the one problem that I had with Gladiator 2, that we both were in agreement on, is you had these potential awesome set pieces. Like with sharks, and you're filling up the whole Coliseum with water, and you have these weird-ass monkeys for some reason. Nothing about this movie's action was good. But it's Gladiator. It's Gladiator. It's Gladiator. It's like, is it though? It's got the name. but it is not the same fucking film. The performances are lacking. The story is lacking. And a lot of people even thought that you and I were too harsh about this movie. Like, oh, guys, it's not that bad. It really fucking is. Everyone thinks Denzel deserves a fucking Oscar for this movie. Shut the fuck up. Denzel is a phenomenal actor. He's one of the best actors on the planet. But do not hold a torch for him in this role. He is in the wrong fucking movie. He is not. He's basically doing Training Day, Gladiator edition, and no one else is in that same film. And every time he's in a scene with everyone else, you can tell that they're all like, is this really what we're fucking doing? Okay. But the action in this film sucks compared to the previous Gladiator. Nothing makes sense, and you don't buy Paul Mescal as the lead in this film by any means. Oh god, I fucking hate this movie. I hate this movie so much. Like I think it's probably not overrated, but I've had people come at me after we talked about it, and I'm just like, shut the fuck up. I'm not talking to you about.
Yeah, I've heard a couple of people like really praise this movie, and I don't agree with that. But I think for the most part, I think people maybe aren't as harsh on it as us, but I think most people were disappointed by it. The first one, obviously a great film, deserved all the awards and everything it got. This one, we kind of were like, why are they making Gladiator 2? We don't need a Gladiator 2. I'm glad they did away with the original stories where they're gonna have like Russell Crowe, sent back by the gods or some shit. They had all kinds of weird fucking stories they were working on. But instead they go with his, well, we find out his son, spoiler alert. But the son of Lucia? No.
Lucius.
His name's Lucius.
Is his name.
But it's like, okay, fine. That's at least a way to go into this movie.
It also wastes Pedro Pascal.
But that's just it. It's like you cast in your main lead a guy who I don't think is that good an actor, and he certainly doesn't have the charisma to front a movie like this. You waste people like Pedro Pascal. You put Denzel Washington there, who obviously is a good actor, and I like when Denzel occasionally takes roles where he does get to have more fun and not just be serious Denzel. And this one, I feel like he kind of was trying to have more fun. Like you said, it almost went a little more into Training Day. At times, it almost felt like he was doing like a Jason Momoa thing. Not quite, not the same exact mannerisms, but in terms of just like trying to be, crazy and fun. But it didn't work as well, obviously, in this environment. And I think I didn't dislike this movie as much as you, but I definitely don't say I like it. I have never watched it again since the first time. It was very disappointing to me. And especially in terms of the action, like you said, they had these ideas of how they can up the ante on the action. Forget the tigers, we're gonna have sharks in the water, and they sound like as outlandish as they may sound, they could have been fun, but the action just felt kind of. Eh.
And was it a big ass rhino at one point too?
Yeah, they had rhinos in it.
Yeah, the big ass rhino. Like the concept, the idea was there, the execution wasn't. I think the two most interesting characters were the Caesars, and they were barely used in the film. And once they brought them in, you're like, no, it's too late. You already lost me at this point. But those are the two most interesting characters in that whole movie. Yeah. So your next one.
So my number two. My number two, again, listed as action online. It definitely has some major action sequences in it. Is it an action movie? I don't know. I thought it was going to be an action movie going in. I was looking forward to this movie because I thought it was going to be action, but it wasn't. And that's Civil War. War.
I thought you were going with the other one, but okay, yeah.
From Alex Garland.
This is not an action movie.
A director and actor. It's listed as action movie. There's definitely action sequences, especially the whole last act is all one giant war going on. But this is a movie that has been praised to death, and it's just boring as shit. This is a movie about following a journalist as they kind of wander across the countryside and stumble onto some different events, and then it ends with the tiniest little the attack on Washington, which apparently you can take Washington with like 2 tanks and 12 soldiers. It's just not a very good movie. I didn't like the characters. I didn't like their Walmart Pedro Pascal they cast in the role. I don't like Kirsten Dunst in those things.
You really don't like
Kaylee Spain.
Yeah, you really don't like her.
I don't actually dislike her. I just don't like her. I don't understand why. I don't know. But especially just coming from like Alex Garland and then the trailers, which had sold me on this movie, and it just wasn't at all the movie I wanted it to be. And so I definitely consider it overrated. Now, is it action? It's definitely a borderline choice, but it technically qualifies, so I'm listing it.
Yeah, Civil War, I think, was one that I was trying to champion when we saw the trailers. I remember we went to anticipate. I was like, I'm so excited. We're like, like I'll give it a shot, but I'm not super excited for this. I was like,
Well,
no,
I
this
saw
is
the
good.
trailer and I'm like, this if the movie is what it looks like, then I'm excited, but it wasn't.
Yeah, I was like, this is Alex Garland. He never fails. Yeah, this movie, everything that Brian said, I 100% agree with.
Yeah.
It's boring. It's uneventful. Like I said, there are maybe 3 scenes in the movie that are enough to spike a little bit to make it go, oh,
I mean,
and
only
then
3 scenes in the movie that I even remember at this point.
yeah. So it's just it was a very like I'm sitting here watching the movie. I'm like, oh, how much time we got left? Fuck, it's only been 30 minutes. God damn. God damn. Yeah, this movie was a severe disappointment. It was on, I think, my most disappointed of the year when we did our end of the year stuff. But yes, I agree. The characters didn't care for the world, or the lack of explanation of the world was severely lacking. The action sequences, I think there was one real good action sequence, and then there was a really good tense scene, and then the final act, you're kind of like, yeah, there's shit going on, but the characters aren't in the middle of that shit. You can hear it all happening, but you're not really seeing it happen, which is just as worse as not fucking having it at all. Yeah, Civil War just.
Well, it's funny because I just watched Alex Garland's new movie, Warfare, which came out.
Yeah.
And that movie is like, great action and great characters, but like there's not much to the movie, not much else happens. It's like just seems like it's almost too contained, and it needed to expand on the story. So it's like if you took his 2 movies, the 2 extremes, and put them together, you'd probably have one good movie.
I've not got to see Warfare yet, so I can't really argue that point. But yeah, Civil War, that was a huge disappointment. And yeah, and people are like, this is a fucking great film. And it's like, I don't know what the fuck movie you guys watched, but Brian and I definitely didn't see the same film. My number one, I'm sure Brian's gonna roll his eyes at, because he knows how much I fucking hate this movie, mainly because of one scene. Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat. I champion the 1995 Mortal Kombat. I'll even champion Annihilation because I just think it's fun. It's not a good movie, but I will go, hey.
Maybe in a like so bad it's good kind of fun to watch, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's one of those that I could just sit there and go, this is stupid, but I enjoy it because it's Mortal Kombat. I was so excited when we were getting this Mortal Kombat. I liked, for the most part, the cast that we got, and I was so just intrigued by what we were going to get with this movie, and everything that I saw up to the like trailers and everything. I was like, fuck yes, we're getting a Mortal Kombat that's going to be badass. And instead, we still had those badass moments. It was still good. But we focused on, instead of Liu Kang or Sonya or any of the characters that we love, we follow a creative fighter. Is it Cole Young? Is that his character? Yeah.
It's definitely Cole.
Who has the charisma of a brick wall. You don't care about his character at all through the entire fucking film. And then all of a sudden he's like, oh, he's got a power in him. He's just got to bring it out of him. Everyone's got a power or something. They call it something else. I just can't remember what it is right now because I have not watched this movie since it came out because I'm that mad at it.
Is it Arcana
or something like that? And it's like, oh, well, he'll have it. He'll come at it. Not only does he randomly get it in the middle of a fight, but he randomly gets in the middle of a fight with fucking Goro. Fucking Goro. And Brian's laughing because he knows how much I've ranted about this.
I'm just preparing for the 20 minutes. I'll sit back here.
I'll try to type it up fast. Not only does he figure it out when he fights fucking Goro, but then he dominates Goro. Fuck you. Fuck you. Goro is like the undefeated champion of like the past like 8 Mortal Kombats. This creative fighter shouldn't even have been. Now, if the others had shown up mid-fight and helped him, fine. Okay. 8 people against Goro, or 4 people against Goro, still shouldn't have worked, but okay, fine. But no, this motherfucker takes on Goro basically by himself and dominates. At that point, I threw my hands up at this movie. I was like, I'm done. I'm done. Scorpion and Sub-Zero, super fucking cool. Loved everything about it. Loved the actors who played them. I have nothing against those two. There are parts about that movie that I like, but as soon as Cole Young fucking fought Goro, that movie shut down for me. I'm still excited to see the sequel. The actor who plays Cole Young, I appreciate him more now because he was a badass in Cobra Kai, the final season. And if you guys have not seen that, you guys should. Because if you guys hate Cole Young like I do, if he played it like this guy, if he played it like that character, I would have been totally cool with Cole Young because this guy has so much more charisma, so much more presence and aura to him than whatever the fuck he was doing in Mortal Kombat. That's the one thing we've noticed too, is that they have not shown a single image of him in Mortal Kombat 2 yet. Granted, there has not been a trailer. So if he gets the Johnny Cage treatment in Annihilation where they kill him right in the first 5 minutes, that movie's gonna shoot up my fucking rankings. But yeah, fuck Mortal Kombat. Potential good execution, completely shit the bed because of one scene that ruined the whole movie for me.
I do not have as much of an attachment to Goro as Sean clearly does. I don't want to read his fanfic that he's written about him.
It is the equivalent of like Jubilee coming in as like the new X-Men and killing Magneto in their first fight. That is the same fucking equivalent, okay? It really fucking is. I'm not the only fucking person in this mindset.
I almost put this movie on my underrated list. Didn't quite make it.
I'm so mad at you.
I really enjoy this movie. I do. And I think I've enjoyed it more as I've watched it more. I'm excited to see the second one. I think that for starters, we finally got a good R-rated Mortal Kombat, which not every movie is like, oh, it needs to be R. Everything has to have swearing and blood and all stuff. Mortal Kombat does. I mean, Mortal Kombat, the other ones, they were fun for what they were, but they definitely felt neutered. You weren't getting the experience that you wanted from Mortal Kombat. This one, you got the blood and the gore, you got the cool finishes, you got all that stuff. You actually put together a really good cast. I like the girl they have playing Sonya, Jessica McNamee. You have Josh Lawson, who stole the show for me as Kano. He's a guy I know more from comedy. But
he's doing a comedy show right now, and he's fucking hilarious. And now I look at him, and he's in shape, and I'm like, you're still Kano to me, but I fucking love you, dude. Yeah. I love you.
And he's definitely doing comedy in this movie. He's hilarious in this movie. But I love like every scene that he's in. And then you have Joe Taslim, who we talked about, from Night Comes to Us and stuff, and Hiroyuki Sanada as Sub-Zero and Scorpion. Those two obviously are great. So I think there's so much about this movie that I did enjoy. That while it's not perfect, I'm not going to claim it's like it wasn't going to make my best of list or anything. I really did enjoy this movie quite a bit, and I just kind of was willing to overlook the things like beating Goro because if you know the lore of Mortal Kombat, obviously yes, it's a huge deal, but this is a fresh reboot. They had not established him as like the champion of the last however many tournaments. He was just kind of the big strong henchman. And so they took him out. And I can understand you being mad that they wasted that character that you love. I totally get that. But I still love the movie in spite of that.
Just looks so badass. You don't want him to die right away. Now, granted, a lot of people are like, well, dude, he fucking lost to Johnny Cage. I'm like, he was on a cliff of a mountain. He got kicked in the balls. Or he got punched in the balls. And he lost his balance. But even before that, though, he was like dominating everybody. So
as long as Cole Young had punched him in the balls and pushed him over a cliff, he would have been fine.
At least he would have been like in a situation where it was like, well, he was off balance. He's a big motherfucker. It's fine. But like here, they're like in the front yard of Cole Young's house. Fuck you. And he didn't fall off a cliff. Cole Young fucking like decapitated his ass. Like it's no, not okay with it. Not okay with it. What's your number one overrated?
My number one is a movie that Sean loves. This is again a movie that I felt was definitely borderline action. Letterboxd and IMDb listed as action as one of their genres, but it's definitely an overrated film, whatever genre you put it in. And that is Everything Everywhere All at Once. Now there are only a few action sequences in it, but I mean they're kind of sprinkled throughout. You have the one big one, especially the one with Ke Kwan where he gets to go off with the belt and stuff. That's ton of fun. And you have kind of a big sequence towards the end. There's a big action sequence. But action does, while it's not like constant action beginning to end, it definitely does play a big part in this film. So I'm going to call it action, partially because I couldn't find that many like overrated movies that were pure action. This is a movie, again, it's a movie I like. I gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars. It's creative, it's original, absolutely. But it gets a little too in your face with kind of the sappiness in the message. It takes a good half hour too long to end that last act. I'm just like, can we just hurry up and wrap this up? It just drags on forever. And it's definitely kind of full of itself. It feels like it's making this important message to people, and they bought into it. I mean, people just praise this movie to death. And like I said, I enjoy it. I like the people in it, pretty much top to bottom. I don't think there's anybody in the cast I don't like. It's just a movie that is good, that people call great, and I just don't agree. So therefore, it's a very definition of, to me, overrated.
It is a great film. It was one of my favorite films of that year. It deserves all the praise it gets. I will agree it took a little too long to end. But other than that, I fucking love this movie. I love the cast. I love the way it was shot. I love everything that they do in the film. I love all the different genres that it covers, and I feel like it is not overrated in any of the genres it covers. The action in it is great. It was on my list up until last night, and then I took it off because I felt like you were going to go, there's not enough action in it. So I took it off my list. But it was on my list for faves, but it's not anymore. I love Everything Everywhere All at Once, and I will die on that hill. I won't go into a huge thing because I already spent too much time with Mortal Kombat and Fast and Furious, but
it's not as good as Mortal Kombat, I'll say that.
It's way fucking better than Mortal Kombat. So don't even say that. Let's go ahead and go to underrated. I'll go first. I was debating with Brian before we did the start of the episode on this one movie, because technically this movie is not out in the US yet. It comes out in the US on May 9th. I'm not going to go too far into it, but I do think that it is a fun action film that I want to acknowledge. It's not going to be one of my honorable mentions. Like I said, I'm going to mention it and go on with it. There's a movie coming out on, I think it's May 9th. Stars Josh Hartnett. It's called Fight or Flight. It is basically Bullet Train on a plane. It's a lot of fun. The action pieces that we get in the film, the hand-to-hand combat, is a whole lot of fun. It's enjoyable. It's not on the same level as Bullet Plane, because outside of Josh Hartnett, the rest of the cast is fine, not great. It's definitely a film of what it is. But it's definitely a lot of fun, and I do think you guys should check it out when it comes out on May 9th in theaters, if it is in theaters. It says in theaters, but I don't know if it's actually going to be in theaters. But definitely check out Fight or Flight. I have a duo honorable mention that I want to acknowledge both these films, because I want to say Brian likes both, but I don't know if he's going to talk about them in the underrated, so I want to acknowledge them now so that way Brian can talk about them. One, we briefly mentioned last episode when we were talking about our number one underrated, which was The Night Comes for Us, and that is The Shadow Strays.
I went ahead and made that my honorable mention.
It is an honorable. Okay, so let me talk about the other one then, and we'll go back to that Shadow Strays then. My other one is a movie that Brian and I both champion so fucking much. But I don't know if he put it. I don't know if there's enough action in it for him to have put it on here. It's on Hulu, and it's called Boss Level. Did you talk about it or no?
No, it was on my short list. I did not put it on my list though.
Boss Level, once again, is one of those movies that just got dropped on a streamer, Hulu of all places, and it stars an actor that we both like, but most people probably go, "Oh, it's that guy." No, his name's fucking Frank Grillo, and Frank Grillo is one of the most criminally underrated actors in Hollywood. He is so fucking good in everything he's in. He's like 1A. He's like there's like John Bernthal, who I fucking love and will hold a torch towards. And then there's Frank Grillo right here. Both those guys, anything they're casted in, they're going to give their fucking 110%. Now, Bernthal's got that extra oomph to him than Grillo does. But Grillo is such a good actor, and he's so just like, looks at it like, oh, he's that one guy. And it's like, no, you deserve to know his name. And this movie is kind of like a video game version of Groundhog Day. Actually, it's more like a straight-up video game. You just died, and you go back like a Groundhog Day, but it's more like a video game. And basically, he wakes up, and he's being hunted by all these assassins. He has no fucking idea why. And so he keeps dying over and over and over again. But just like a video game, everything is happening, like the fights, like the sequences, is all happening in the same thing. And so he's learning, and he's becoming a better fighter, and he is progressing through these and kind of moving through it like you would a video game. It's got a fun cast around him. Mel Gibson's like the main villain in it too, which was like, well, fuck, Mel Gibson, okay. This movie's a lot of fun. I enjoy the hell out of it. And as much as I'm praising it, I don't think I've watched it since it came out, which is another weird thing. And I think it's because it's on Hulu, and I have ads with Hulu, and I just don't want to fucking deal with the ads. I would, if this was on Vudu or something, or Fandango or wherever, so I can buy it, I would buy it because I would love to watch this. I just hate Hulu. But I love this movie so fucking much. And I know Brian loves this movie too.
Yeah, no, I love this movie. It's a lot of fun. Like I said, it was on my short list. I was trying to thinking about the movies of the 2020s and what to make my list. It didn't quite make my list, but I enjoyed the hell out of it. And largely that is because of Frank Grillo. Frank Grillo is a guy who can handle the action, but he's also just like a fun actor. I love his style and personality. I think the problem is he's like you say, he's kind of that one notch below like John Bernthal or whatever. He's not like, an A-list star or even like that top tier, B-list like a John Bernthal. He's kind of stuck in this supporting level where he's like will mostly have small roles in big movies or big roles in small movies. Like he's still as much as he makes good stuff that we like, he pumps out a lot of shit straight to video stuff too. Now I'm sure from the ones I've seen, he's usually good in them, but he can't necessarily save the movies. But I also think that almost hurts him because people still see him as this guy who's doing these kind of crappy straight to video movies. So he doesn't like get the big roles, but it's like the guy needs to make a paycheck and you're not paying him for the big roles. So he's kind of stuck there. I don't know, but we both love Frank.
Nick Cage, but he doesn't have the aura or accolades as Nick Cage does. So Nick Cage can go do those fucking movies. You're like, oh yeah, this is Nick Cage is doing this. Whereas Frank was like, well, that's just Frank Grillo's wheelhouse. Like, no, it's not. He does that just like Nick Cage does. He's making money.
Frank Grillo will show up in small parts in movies, like whether it be Marvel movies
Warrior.
or whatever. But when he gets leads, it tends to be in these smaller movies that most people don't pay attention to. And so, but this is one that I definitely agree. People need to watch this
one. So Shadow Strays.
Shadow
Strays. Not as good as The Night Comes For Us. And we're not saying that is. If it was, it'd be higher up on our list. But the action in this movie is awesome. And one thing that I will commend, what's the director's name?
Timo Tjahjanto.
One thing that I appreciate the fuck out of this dude, this dude lets women fucking fight. He did so in The Night Comes For Us. Like I said, it was like a 3-way fight between these girls in Night Comes For Us. That was fucking awesome. And then the main character in this is a woman, and she has this mentor, and they fight at the end of the film, and he lets these girls fucking kill each other, literally. I love when I see a woman come in on one of his movies because I'm like, this woman's gonna fucking like be awesome. Like she's gonna fuck some shit up. And he casts these fantastic women in these movies, and they are talented as hell in their skills. And the way he shoots these movies are brutal in the best fucking possible way. Like I said, story for this is not as strong as Night Comes For Us, but Night Comes For Us story is not that strong either. But he doesn't have Joe Taslim and the other guy.
Iko Uwais.
Yeah, he doesn't have them in this movie, which clearly they're missed, but they can't be in all of these movies. But it's a fun. It's on Netflix, just like Night Comes For Us. You should definitely check it out. It's brutal, it's bloody, and it is a fun ride that you go through the whole way through. I thought this movie was really, really good for what it was.
Yeah, if what you're looking for in an action movie is just pure hardcore violent brutal action, this is definitely going to fit the bill. Like Night Comes For Us, in some points maybe even a little bit more, which is saying something. It's not, like you said, it's not quite as good as that movie. This movie's story isn't quite as strong. It's got some subplots that could be cut. It's also a little longer than it needs to be, but I think it seems like most of these Indonesian films
I think if they had cut the subplots that you and I are talking about, that probably would have cut about a 15-20 minutes off the film.
Yeah,
which would have made it a lot tighter.
The characters are great. The action is awesome. There's like the whole last half hour of the movie is basically one kind of multi-stage battle. And then a big chunk of that is just this one-on-one fight. It just kind of goes on and gets more and more brutal, and they're wearing each other down. But yeah, this is a fun movie. I love this director and how he does action. I've actually seen some horror movies he's did in his career. They're actually pretty good too. But if you're looking for just hardcore, brutal action, you can't go wrong with this one.
Speaking of coming out, or this would have come out last week based on when this comes out, Havoc with Tom Hardy on Netflix. Isn't it the director from The Raid?
Yes.
Yeah. That looks Granted, like I said, at the time of shooting, it has not come out yet. As time as this airs,
Out like
in
2 days, I can watch that.
Yeah, we will have seen it by the time this airs, everybody. But that one, just a trailer for that looks like we're gonna get another one, but it's Tom Hardy doing it. I'm excited for that.
Which is why it's been my most anticipated for like the last 2-3 years.
Yeah, because it kept getting pushed.
Yeah.
So that was your only honorable mention, right? With Shadow Strays?
Yeah.
Okay. My number 3 is another movie that I know Brian and I love. You know why? Because it won Movie of the Year from us in 2021. Right up there with Tombstone as my favorite Western film of all time. The Harder They Fall. This was a I'm blanking on the director's name. First time director.
Samuel.
I was like, and I had it in my head. I wasn't giving myself credit. I was like, I think it's James Samuel. Phenomenal cast. It is shot like a Quentin Tarantino film, but it's not Quentin Tarantino. The action is brutal when we get it. Now, granted, it's a Western, so a lot of it's just shoot 'em up and stuff like that. But I love the way they shoot this film. I love the cast in this film. Everything about this movie I love. There's not a single thing that I dislike about this film. This is one of those 5-star films for me. And I will praise this movie to the nth degree. And a lot of people did not give this movie a shot. Now, granted, his second film, nowhere near as good as The Harder They Fall, which was a huge disappointment for me and Brian and I, because we were both super, super excited for his second film. But this is hands down one of my favorite Westerns, and I love this movie immensely. I know this is probably not on your list, probably didn't think it was enough action in it. And it's weird that I don't care for Westerns, yet I had 2 Westerns in my series for this. And this is one of those that was like a last second, like, oh my God, I forgot about The Harder They Fall. So I need to talk about it. But because I had Shadow Strays as number 3. And then I like literally like right when we started shooting, I was like, oh my God, Harder They Fall. And I was like, okay, I got to do some moves real quick. But yeah, we both love this movie. I don't think you put it on your list, but yeah.
I will talk about it later.
Oh, so it is on your list. Okay, awesome, great. So go ahead with your next one.
My first underrated is a movie that it's not a great film. It's not looking to win any awards. Most people probably just didn't even pay attention to it, but not a lot of people I think have even seen it. I had a lot of fun with it, and in terms of what is underrated, it works for me. And this is The Killer's Game. This is
okay.
Dave Bautista, Sophia Boutella, Terry Crews, Palm Clemente, Ben Kingsley's in it, Scott Adkins,
Drew McIntyre.
Yeah, this is most of people watching this probably don't know a movie called Short Time from the 80s, starring Dabney Coleman as this cop who finds out who basically needs some money for his family. I think he finds out he has like some terminal illness, and so he basically tries to purposely get himself to die on the job so that his family can get this big payout. Of course, they find out he was not actually terminally ill, and they're trying to get to him and get this information to him before he kills himself. This is kind of Short Time meets Smoking Aces, because there's this assassin played by Dave Bautista who is diagnosed with this terminal illness and he's going to die. So basically, he puts out a hit on himself because he wants people to kill him. And then his new girlfriend, who's met Sophia Boutella, is going to get all this money. Of course, then he finds out he's not going to die, and he tries to call it off, but they won't let him call it off. Mostly because Palm Clemente, who he hired,
who's great in the movie, by the way.
Yeah, she's like the contractor or whatever. She basically says, "No, I want you to," because she doesn't like him. She's like, "I want you dead," so she won't call off.
I'm pretty sure he killed her father.
Yeah. So you have this whole band of assassins all coming to kill him, and of course they all have their own personalities. There's the 2 girls that do like kung fu. There's a whole like Asian troupe. There's some guys that are purely guns. There's one that's made of. Are they both wrestlers or just the one?
Just the one.
Just the one.
Because the other one is what's his name from John Wick.
Oh, that's Scott Adkins. That's right, Scott Adkins. And
it's Drew McIntyre.
Drew McIntyre. Yeah.
Yeah.
So everybody kind of has their own specialty, whether guns or knives or whatever, and it's just they all have their own personalities. It's definitely it's not a comedy, but there's definitely a lot of comic moments to it, comic relief. And it's just a movie that just is pure fun. It's not going to win Oscars. It's not a deep story. It's not great acting. But just in terms of pure action, this one really surprised and impressed me. I thought it was just going to be kind of this throwaway movie that came out, and I was like, I had so much fun with this movie, and I just think more people should see it. So it wasn't going to make my best list, but it made my underrated.
Yeah, I think I thought it was fine for what it was. I think the castle sequence is the best part of the movie, and it's definitely the most fun part of the movie. I think the one thing that was an issue, I think that you and I both had, is that they regulated Sophia Patel to just like the damsel kind of role, and it's like she's so much more of a badass.
We've seen her do so much great action in all kinds of different movies, and here it's just like she's
You
the
just made her the girlfriend, and it's like, no, you could have made her be like, oh, she's secretly also an assassin or whatever. You could have had her.
Interesting, yeah.
Yeah, it's like she's a badass. You don't regulate her to just the girlfriend. Come on. But yeah, that's a good choice. My next one is the one I talked about earlier. Brian knows 100% what I'm talking about. Are you going to be talking about this later? No, you said you weren't going to be talking about it later, and you were glad that I brought it up. There was a film that came out on Netflix that had I think it was like a 6 or 8 minute oneer, and it was pretty great. The oneer was. The movie itself, not so much. Then they announced they were making a sequel, and we're like, I don't think this deserves a sequel. The
Especially
sequel is
one of those where you think the main character's dead. So
exactly. The sequel is like so much fucking better than the first film, and that's Extraction 2. Chris Hemsworth. Now, granted, A-list star on Netflix. This didn't feel like an A-list stars kind of movie, though. This very much felt like Chris Hemsworth is still kind of like coming up in his way. Like, oh yeah, he's an action guy. Let's just do an action movie on Netflix. Extraction,
this
outside of that, exactly. It was a Frank Grillo kind of film. The 6 to 8 minute oneer in the first film was the best part of that movie. The rest of the movie itself was kind of okay. You had like David Harbour in there for like 5 minutes. It's like, why the fuck is David Harbour in this movie if he wasn't going to be used? And then they decided they were doing Extraction 2. We're like, well, didn't Hemsworth die at the end of the fucking movie? Like, oh no, he didn't die. Okay, fine. This movie has an 18-minute oneer. And for people who don't understand what oneers are, it's a shot that is made to believe that it's all happening in real time, one shot. The camera never cuts or breaks or anything. It's all like the camera is following the action the whole way through. 18 fucking minutes of this. Now, granted, we know that there's parts where there's magic cuts where it's like, well, clearly this wasn't shot all in one sequence, but the movie perception of itself, it is a shot in a one-shot scene. This is the most fucking bug in my face. This is the most epically awesome, almost like a video game oneer that I have ever seen. I don't know if this movie or anything can top this. And if it is, it's going to be from these directors that are going to have to top this. This is so epically badass. And the rest of the movie around it is actually really good too. That's the thing. Is like, this isn't like Extraction 1 where it's like it had a great oneer, but the rest of the movie was kind of meh. This has a phenomenal perfection oneer. But the movie around it's also actually really good too. And on top of that, awesome ass like action scenes on top of it as well. Like there's the whole fight in the fucking workout room and stuff, which was a badass scene. But this oneer, if you guys don't want to watch the movie, first off, shame on you. But you guys need to go check this oneer out because it's that fucking amazing. And Extraction 2 definitely deserves to be on any list for action in the 2020s because it's fucking insane how awesome it is.
Yeah, if I was judging my movies based just on the action, this would probably be in my top 5 of the decade. The movie, the story around it is kind of like, whatever, you know. But just on a pure action level, it is amazing. Now, I've long been praising the idea of stunt coordinators and stuntmen who become directors. Because obviously you have like actors who become directors, and then you can tell they kind of focus on the acting. Writers who become directors, and it's a lot more about the story and dialogue. And then you have kind of a relatively new, I mean, there have been some in the past, but relatively new kind of thing of stunt coordinators and stuntmen becoming directors. You have obviously the John Wick guys with Chad Stahelski and then David Leitch, who's now gone off to do all his own things and left, Chad with the John Wick franchise. David Leitch, one of my favorite directors working today because he does such great action. We'll definitely talk about him more later. This is another one. His name is Sam Hargrave, who was previously a stuntman, and he directed this. And you can tell because the action is just so well done. Just the choreography of it, the way it's filmed. They obviously just know everything goes into making action look great. So yes, this is a director who I've already kind of flagged as somebody I'm going to watch. I'm going to keep an eye on any project he's attached to. I'm definitely going to check it out. The action in this movie definitely, you compared to a video game, this absolutely feels like the closest thing to a video game come to life, kind of in terms of modern video games. Because you have your, tournament ones like, Mortal Kombat. You have some of the kind of the side scroller things, which are hard to turn into a story. But like in terms of modern video games, where they go seamlessly from like cutscenes into the action that you're controlling, this movie in that Wonder especially felt like you were in that. Like I remember especially the sequence on the train where you come down, you're shooting, you try to shoot something out of the sky on the train, and you're running through the train, going on fights, and
the scene literally starts in a fucking prison.
Yeah, it's a prison
jailbreak, and transitions onto a fucking plane with a helicopter. It's insane, and you know how much fucking time and effort went into having this thing shot. It's insane.
It's almost as much fun if you get a chance to go watch the behind the scenes on how they filmed both for the first movie and this movie. Because like watching them, like they'll run with the camera, like handing off the camera to somebody who's on a helicopter so they can take off, and it's like, what the fuck's going on here?
It's so fucking masterful.
It's so well done, and just in terms of filmmaking, the action cinematography in this is great. Like I said, the story is kind of whatever, but this is a movie you go into looking for just a pure action, and it is a ton of fun. So yes, I agree.
Yeah. What's your next one?
My next one is another streaming movie, and this is one that a lot of people seem to, at least some people I've heard, seem to actively dislike, and I don't understand why, because I had a ton of fun with this movie, and that's The Gray Man. The Gray Man with Ryan Gosling and Chris Evans, directed by the Russo brothers. What's that?
I was gonna say Anna de Armas, but like no, that's the other one. That's the Apple TV.
She's in Gray Man.
Is she in Gray Man?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was thinking of the one with her and Chris Evans on Apple TV. Was it Ghosted?
Ghosted. She was in as well with him. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Anna de Armas is in this. Jessica Henwick is also in this one.
Another criminally underrated actress.
Yeah, so I love this movie. I think that Ryan Gosling is kind of at times almost in his nice guys mode, which of course I love. Of course, there's a lot more badass in this one because once he gets into his fight scenes, things like that. Chris Evans is having just a ton of fun getting to play the villain. He's got the bad porn stash.
I love Chris Evans villain because he has so much fun every time he does it.
He's kind of got that Johnny Storm kind of attitude to him, swagger to him, but he's just having fun. He's just kind of fucking with the guy the whole time. And you can tell that he loves, I think that while I'm sure he loves playing Captain America, he loves to just go the other way completely. Like, I just get to be an asshole. I'm going to enjoy the fuck out of this.
Yes.
So he's great. I think the action is so well done. And this is a movie that, again, it didn't make my best of the year list or anything, but I've not understood why people reacted so strongly against this. I don't know if it's because it was a Netflix film, because it's backlash against the Russos, because people haven't really liked a lot of stuff they've done outside of the MCU.
I think that's 100% what it is that I think people expect so much out of the Russos because of what they did with MCU that when the movie doesn't hit that expectation, then it's automatically just full hatred.
Yeah, because I really enjoyed this film, and especially the action sequences, and especially the fights. I loved them, and it kind of left that opening for a sequel, which I kind of doubt we're ever going to get because of the reception to it. But just as a standalone film, I'm happy we got it.
I thought it was fine. Not the action's good. I think the story around it was just kind of meh. Kind of like how you feel with Extraction 2. The action's fantastic. You aren't crazy about the story. Gray Man, I thought the action was great. I think Evans is a ton of fun to watch. Gosling, I feel like Gosling could have been better in it, but he's fine in the movie. I just wasn't crazy about the story, but I mean, I also don't get the hate. Like, I think it's okay. It's better than Red Notice, which I know that's kind of like the staple. It's like it's better than Red Notice.
It's way better than Red Notice.
That's because Red Notice was like the most, well, it was at the time the most expensive Netflix film, and it had like 3 top tier stars in it, and it was still just kind of bleh. So I'm assuming my number one's your number one. If not, it's got to be on your list somewhere. I would be.
Oh, I think I know what you're talking about. Okay,
it's not on your list.
Our number one. No,
it's not on anyone. Any of it.
I didn't say that.
Not even your faves.
It might be my runner up for my honorable mention for my favorites.
Okay. This is another movie that won Movie of the Year from me and Brian. Actually, I think it might have been 2022, the year after The Harder They Fall. This is a film that Brian pushed onto me after a half-year review. He's like, I think this was like your number 4 at the time, and you're like, you should check this out. But it's foreign and it's 3 hours long. And I was like, really? Like, dude, just trust me. Just trust me on this. You're gonna enjoy it. And this is I've watched. It's 3 hours. And I think I've watched it like 6 times. And I forced Kimberly to watch it, and she loved it. And she forced her kids to watch it, and they loved it. I think everyone that we can get to actually give this movie its time have loved this movie, and it deserves underrated. It deserves to be in my faves. It deserves underrated because people still don't talk about this movie or know about this movie, and that is fucking R. Fucking's not in the title; it's just RRR. But RRR is, we literally made a separate award for this during our award show of the Brothers Award, or was it the Brotherly Love, or the Bromance Award of the year, because these two actors are so fucking awesome together. Don't make me say their names because I know I'm going to butcher them. But RRR is the movie that has every genre covered. Musical, covered. Action, covered. Drama, covered. Comedy, covered. Horror aspects, covered. There's not a single facet that RRR does not cover and do very well in this movie. It got nominated for at least one Oscar for its song, and they got to perform it at the Oscars, which I thought was really, really fucking cool. This movie is so fucking awesome, and if you guys can't stand sitting down for 3 hours, which I know you fucking can, because you guys can binge through an entire TV season in one sitting, at least at the halfway mark, it kind of like stops, and it feels it's like 2 separate films to a point. Because like get to the halfway mark, and then it like literally like doesn't reset, but it like a credit thing comes up real quick. It almost basically goes, okay, if you want to take a break now, and now we're going to the second half of the film. But this movie is so awesomely over the top, which I think is where people will probably negative, like, oh, it's like it's so over the top cheesy. So I'm like, yes, it is, in the best fucking possible way it could possibly be. RRR is one of my favorite films. And why this has not become buyable yet infuriates me, because I want to buy this movie. I want it, like, it's on Netflix, so it's fine. But I want to buy this film. I want it in 4K. I want it like set aside in my like library, and I still can't fucking get this movie, and it makes me so mad. And it's probably the one. And Brian loves throwing me shit like, "Hey, you should watch this. You should watch this." And more times than not, it's movies I don't like the fucking Ravishing and Vanishing and shit, you know, like Ravenous or whatever the hell it's called. But now that he gave me RRR and The Night Comes for Us, because he did that too, I almost have to always take everything he says like, okay, I gotta watch this, because he's given me these 2 gems. And one amazing gem will like excuse 10 bad ones that Brian will give me.
I gave you Nimona too.
And the Mona. I said that, which was also a movie of the year winner for us.
Also on Netflix. Yes.
Yeah, also on Netflix, which I almost wanted to put it on this list. I was like, it's animated. We're gonna be doing our own animated thing, so I'll save that off for later. But yeah, RRR is a phenomenal film, and it is fun in all the right ways.
Yeah,
This is not on your list?
Well, I was definitely going to put it somewhere. I couldn't decide where to put it.
It's underrated to the nth degree. It's number one.
But it's like I wanted to acknowledge that it's actually it's kind of one of my favorites.
It is mine, but it deserves to be an underrated. Which
I debated. I'm like, do I put it underrated? Do I put it among my favorites? I don't know. And I decided, you know what? I'm going to give it the boost to get a little bit higher profile on my best of list. I'll just tell you right now, this is my honorable mention for my best of list. Okay. It very well could have rated higher. I just have so many action movies that I loved. I couldn't knock any of the other ones down. And this one, there are issues. Is it 3 hours long, and does it feel bloated at times? Absolutely. That's just a staple of, especially I talked about a little bit Indonesian stuff like that, but Asian cinema, and especially Indian cinema. Like I have theaters around me that usually dedicate like a few screens every week are Indian films, and every single one of them is like 3 hours plus long. It's like that just seems to be like a thing. So it feels a little bloated. The story is kind of fun, but it goes on some weird subplots and things that probably are unnecessary. But that's all secondary, because this movie is just fun in terms of the action. It's unique, it's creative, it's ambitious. There's things in here that you will never have seen on screen, and probably never will again, because it's just so wild. Whether it be the stunts or some of the other things they do. It's it was just kind of a breath of fresh air in
Yeah.
kind of the action genre, because it was all people you hadn't seen. Well, take that back. You had Ray Winstone and Allison Doody from Indiana Jones Last Crusade, but they were the bad people, the villains. They're bit parts in these movies essentially. Otherwise, I mean, but the main stars of it are people you've never seen before. It's action like you haven't seen before. Now, apparently this kind of thing has been part of movies in India. I've tried to watch one or two others because I'm like, people are like, oh, if you like that, you'll like these. And I watched those and I didn't like them. So this might have just been the right one for me to watch that just hit me at the right time. That I loved everything about it. But this is a ton of fun. It's quite the ride. And yes, it does. I think the first time I watched it, I did turn it off after 30 minutes because I was like, I don't know, this is just a little weird. But then I went back and watched it, kind of knowing what to expect, kind of the weird tone of the movie and stuff. And I just let myself enjoy the ride, and I really did. I love this movie. So
Yeah, and before you guys come at me specifically about like, well, these guys aren't superhumans, but they go through some crazy shit like Fast and Furious. Fast and Furious established these are regular human beings for 8 fucking like.
This is really fantastical from the beginning.
Yes.
Yeah.
So before you go, well, you just shit Fast and Furious. No, Fast and Furious went through like 3 fucking films of them like there's regular guys and then became superhuman. These guys are just fucking awesomely amazing from the jump of the film. They are the closest things of being superhuman without being superhuman. Yeah. And if you guys can't get through, like I said, Brian said he stopped it after 30 minutes. If you can't get through their introductions of these characters and not go, I need to see more, then I don't know what to tell you. Because Ram's introduction, I won't say his introduction. I don't even want to fucking say what it is. If you can't get through Ram's introduction and not go, what the fuck? And not go, I gotta see what happens next, then I can't help you. I cannot help you because that is such a fucking.
And for me, like when I stopped it, it wasn't that I didn't want to see what happens next. It's that I was like, this is too outlandish, too unbelievable. And that was, like I said, it was my mindset going into the movie. And once I realized that's what kind of movie this is, and I went into it watching it with the right mindset, I was all in. Yeah.
All right. So that was my underrated number one. Your honorable mention for Phase. So what is your number one overrated or underrated?
My number one overrated is underrated. I'm sorry, underrated. It's not like my favorite film of this list, but it's one that I think the least people I know have seen, and I really enjoyed it. I know more than most. And that's a movie called Kate. This is another Netflix original action film. This one's starring, what's that?
What is it?
Kate. Mary Elizabeth Winstead.
I said Kate, like Caked. I'm like, what the fuck is this? Kate. I'm on board. I'm on board. You're good. I was so thrown off.
Elizabeth Winstead basically is an assassin who has basically been poisoned, so she's going to die within 24 hours, and she's trying to basically solve and take revenge for her murder within this 24 hours before she dies. Along the way, she also has to pick up. She also gets with this kid who is they're all after her. She's trying to protect her at the same time. Mary Elizabeth Winstead, we love here. This is the first time, and we've gotten to see her do a little bit of action, in things like The Thing, stuff like that. But this is her first like real action film. She's the solo lead of this thing. She's awesome at it. There are so many shots of this movie, like she's sitting there holding a gun. I swear she looks like Ripley out of Aliens. It's like if they ever decided they wanted to like kind of continue Aliens with Ripley character and go back and use her, it'd be perfect. I would have no problem with that. I mean, it's kind of sacrilegious. I agree. But
yeah, please don't do it. But if you're gonna do it,
I'm saying if you're gonna do it, this is the way to go. Or give her own franchise, because I love her and I think she does action great. Again, it's got a very kind of unique look to it. The action is it's a lot of it takes place in
like purple neon,
like a lot of like neon kind of pinks and blues. So the movie looks great. The action choreography is great. Again, it's bloody, it's brutal. You got gunplay, you got sword fights, you got everything in between. She's getting her ass kicked the whole time. It's not like she's superhuman or something. She's obviously, just aside from the poison, she's just getting beat the fuck up. I'm looking at the poster right now. It's got her just get completely beat up. And this was just a surprise to me. This is one of those movies, like I heard it was coming out. I'm like, okay, I'll check it out. I like the cast of it. And I ended up really, really enjoying this one. I ended up giving it 4 stars out of 5. Again, not like top tier movie of the year, but a movie that very few of my friends have seen, no matter how much I try to push it on them. So more of you guys need to watch this damn movie.
Yeah, this was a fun film. I think when I think of Kate, first thing that pops into my head is
I know you didn't like the girl.
that I didn't like the girl at all. Not Mary Elizabeth Winstead, obviously, but the first thing I think about is what are they in a? It's not a bathhouse. It's they're like the sliding doors.
Yeah, it's like the old like Japanese, like with the paper doors. Yeah.
Yes, that's the first thing that pops in my head. I was like, that I remember going, "Oh, this is awesome!" Like, like I said, anything with Mary Elizabeth Winstead, you and I are going to give a fair shake to. But yeah, I would have. It's a lot of fun. Like I said, the other female lead, I was not crazy about. And I also doesn't it also have an actor that you're like, well, they're clearly the bad guy, and it's like that last second like twist kind of thing, and it's like, yeah, well, no shit, you're the only the big name in this movie.
It's Woody Harrelson. Okay, Woody Harrelson's in this movie, and it's like he's clearly got too small a part to that be it. So it's like anybody who's watched the movie is like, okay, we know where this is going.
Well, yeah, obviously it's you. It's like, come on. No, Kate's a fun film. So going to our favorites or top, which obviously, if you guys haven't been listening, our underrateds are also our favorites. We're just putting them in that category so we can talk about more movies. I think this is probably, honestly, I will say this. I feel like this is probably our best underrated of all the previous films, because a lot of these films people have never seen or heard of. Whereas like we're like, oh yeah, let's talk about this big movie that everyone knows. Like, no, I feel like this is probably the best underrated we've done. Going to our faves though, you already did your honorable mention. Like I said, I cheated and picked two because I couldn't decide which one between them, but I don't fucking care. It's our show. I don't give a shit. So I got two honorable mentions. Actually, no, I'm right. It's one honorable mention. I just had them both on at 5. So I only have one. So I didn't cheat. I just don't know which one to put over.
Decision time.
Yeah, I fine, I'll do that. All right, so my first honorable mention came out last year. I know Brian didn't love it as much as me, but I fucking loved this movie. And the way I describe this movie to everyone, and you're gonna know it exactly when I say this, this is the fun version of Inglourious Bastards. Okay. And that is the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. And this is coming from someone who loves Inglourious Bastards. It's my favorite Tarantino film. I love that movie to the nth degree. Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare is basically if the whole movie was about the Inglourious Bastards, which is kind of what they were kind of misleading you on when Inglourious Bastards came out.
To be, yeah,
but it was actually only like 15 minutes of the movie. This is the Inglourious Bastards the whole fucking way through. Love the cast. You got Henry Cavill, you got Al Richardson, you've got Henry Golding, you've got Isa. Is it Isa or Eliza? Is it Isa?
It's actually
Asa Gonzalez. It's got such a fun cast. Brutally gory in the best possible way. It's fun. They're enjoying themselves. Just how else can you not love just fucking murdering Nazis the whole way through? I probably my most fun performance from Henry Cavill, because he is just having a fucking blast in this movie, which makes me have a blast. Alan Richardson is obviously, just the dude's fucking massive. He was not that big in Blue Mountain State. Like that dude, I feel like Thad Castle was an in-shape dude. I feel like Al Richardson from Blue Mountain State to now has turned into the Incredible Hulk, because the way that they have shot him now and the size of him now, when he was Thad Castle in Blue Mountain State, he was Bruce Banner. And he has somehow morphed into the Incredible Hulk and has stayed that way because he's larger than life now. At least that's how they portray him on camera, is that he's larger than life. And Thad Castle was not a small dude. He was a defensive player on that game, but he looks like a fucking, twig compared to Al Richardson now. But he's having fun in this movie. This movie's a lot of fun. Yes, the story is very light, but you know what? The Inglourious Bastards, you can only have so much story with that. They're killing Nazis. They have a mission. They're trying to do it. Carrie Elways is also fun in the film as well. This is just one of those movies that I just had a delight with last year. It was one of my surprise favorite films of the year.
Yeah, I didn't love this one as much as Sean did, but I did enjoy this movie quite a bit. I agree that this is totally. I think Guy Ritchie just watched Inglourious Bastards and was like, "Hey, that's not what the trailer sold me. So fine, I'll fucking make that movie." Because this is what this is. This is Inglourious Bastards, the actual movie. I had a ton of fun with this. Like you said, Henry Cavill, I think you see him kind of have fun, whereas he's usually very serious and stoic, and not even just in Superman. I think in most movies he's made, it's been kind of serious roles. Alan Ritchson is having a ton of fun in this. I love Alan
The
Ritchson.
opening scene alone is perfect.
Yeah. So and obviously everybody knows I love Asa Gonzalez. So this one, top to bottom, the cast had me, the story had me. I think there are some lulls in the movie, which I think are what kept me from, making my favorites list. That, and just the fact that, like we said, there's just too many movies we love to have them all make our favorites list. Because we wanted to keep this, under 12 hours long. But yeah, good choice. Good fun.
All right. My number 5, since you already did your honorable mention, is one that could this be in a different genre or different best or decades of if we decide to do it? Yes. I don't think we're going to. I don't think there's enough to talk about for that. So I'm going to talk about it right now. And that is a Christmas film that Brian and I both love called Violent Night. David Harbour as Santa fucking people up. That is basically the premise of the film. It's Santa Claus Die Hard in a mansion, basically. John Leguizamo is the main bad guy, which I love John Leguizamo, so I'm going to champion him. The rest of the cast is fine, but you are watching this for David Harbour as Santa Claus fucking shit up. And when he gets to fuck shit up, it is awesome. Never look at an ice skate ever again the same way. Also, a chimney the same way ever again in this movie. They're making a sequel. I kind of don't want there to be a sequel. I feel like the sequel's not going to measure up to the first film, but I'm intrigued to see what they do with it. But this movie is a ton of fun. Acting, not the greatest, but you're not watching this for the performances. You're watching this for the action and David Harbour. I think David Harbour was a great Santa. I think they casted perfect choice for him as this Santa who's like, this is my last night. I'm not doing this anymore. Like I'm retiring after tonight. Yeah, he's back. He's basically playing that I'm too old for this shit cop. Like, one more job and then that's it kind of thing. And then it rejuvenates him like murdering motherfuckers. But I love this movie, and I know Brian loves this movie too.
Yeah, this is David Harbour, perfect casting. Loved him in this movie. And the last act, especially, the action is phenomenal. I love it. This is one that the action is done by the guys at 87 North, it's the company that David Leitch started. He doesn't direct it, but he's a producer on this movie. And all the action is done by their stunt teams and stuff. I've talked about this before, but I'll keep telling you guys. On Peacock, there is a series called Action. It's like a documentary series of following the 87 North, the stunt team, as they make this movie and as they make The Fall Guy. Spoiler alert, we're talking about that later. And it's just, if you want to see what goes into stunts and how it can be done at the top level, check that out. So it's fun to see a lot of behind the scenes on this particular movie and how they did some of this stuff. Because this movie is just, it's the creativity, the cast, the fun action to it. It's just so much fun. And I don't even criticize the acting. I think that, the acting is not like, Oscar caliber or anything, but for the movie that they're in, everybody's acting perfect, I thought.
I think it's more the family. The family's not the best acting. I'm not going to knock the bad guys because the main elf, I fucking loved his performance. I can't remember the actor. I know I've seen him in things and I've liked him. But he is, I can't even remember which elf he is. But he is enjoyable as hell in his acting. It's more like the sister and her family that I'm like, ugh, the whole time through the movie. But yeah, what was your number 5?
My number 5 is a movie that I almost felt a little bit disappointed by it when I first watched it, but that's only because I was comparing it to one of the best action films of all time. And this is Furiosa, a Mad Max saga.
This was on my list last night, and I took it off this morning.
This movie, because obviously we love Mad Max Fury Road. We've talked about that in the 2010s. And it was such a huge, epic, refreshing. From the look of it to the stunts of it to everything about it, loved it. So I went and saw this one because they weren't going to make a sequel to it. Instead, they decided to make a prequel about Furiosa. And okay, this one they're not going to have Charlize Theron, which is disappointing. but they got Chris Hemsworth in it, who we like. So I'm like, and Anya Taylor-Joy, who we like. So I'll check it out. And in my mind, when I was first watching it, I was kind of going, oh, it's not Fury Road level. It's not quite as good as Fury Road. And it almost made me feel disappointed until, I started thinking, yeah, but even something just not quite as good as Fury Road is still better than 95% of the action movies out there.
Yeah.
And as I've watched this more and more, I've loved it more and more. I think that I still love the look of it. The action scenes, while not quite as big in scale, I think on some of them, and they're still so much fun and so well shot, and the stunts are so well done. Plenty of practical stuff going on. Anya Taylor-Joy, I thought, did a great job in her role as Furiosa, but Chris Hemsworth as the villain kind of steals the show. Now, obviously, he's kind of really sinking his teeth into it, he's kind of going that larger than life, over the top thing. He's got the fake nose on him and stuff, because they clearly couldn't have him be pretty boy Chris Hemsworth, because he's even wearing a cape at one point. He would just look like Thor. So they kind of tried to make him look not quite so pretty. He definitely talks in this weird Australian accent, not just even his normal Australian accent. He has like a weird kind of voice to it. But it all works for me. I really like the action. I like the story they were telling. And the more I watch it, the more I seem to like it. It's broken into, is it 5 chapters, I think? I know. It's like broken into chapters.
Yeah.
And then for the first couple chapters especially, there's a lot more story to this one. Whereas when we talk about the simplicity of Fury Road, this one definitely has a lot more story to it, and backstory and motivation for the characters. And so you kind of get to know them more, which is supposed to be good for a prequel on a character that you know. But again, the main focus of this movie is the action, and which is why it definitely deserved to rank on my top 5.
Yeah, like I said, this was my number 5 up until last night, and then I dropped it. It dropped out because I was like, oh yeah, Violent Night and Ministry. I forgot about those. It's like, oh fuck it, I'll put them on. I think
because we can cover more movies.
Exactly. And I feel like with Furiosa, it was kind of the same thing. As like I thought Furious was great, but compared to Mad Max, it's not quite there. Which once again, I was like that with Brown. I was like, you can't compare them. They're two different movies. But there is less action in this. The action is good. And I felt like Brian probably would have talked about this, so I kind of was like, I can afford to take it off my list, which good thing we did. Now, speaking of though, I feel like we have the same 4 remaining. If we don't have the same 4, I'm surprised. I feel like we definitely have 3.
We definitely have 3. You don't have one of them.
I don't. Okay, so one of these I'm shocked.
Let me go ahead and knock that out of the way. I'll say my piece. I had The Harder They Fall on mine. I actually had it all the way up at number 2.
Oh yeah, that's right. You have Heart of
I had it all the way up at number 2 on mine. Now it went everywhere from 1 to 4, because my top 4 are like especially 4 and 3. I don't know what I'm going to talk about next, but I'm going to go ahead and talk about Harder They Fall just because it's already been discussed. This is a movie I didn't watch when it first premiered. I'm like, okay, it's a Western premiering on Netflix. The main star they were pushing of it was Regina
King.
King. I was going to mix up Regina King. A very different movie.
Yeah.
Like she was like the one in like the cover art, and I'm like, she's the one to push. I'm like, I don't care about this fucking Western starring her. And then I don't remember why it is. I don't know if I just saw a clip of it or something, but I'm like, you know what? I gotta watch this movie. Was it you? Oh yeah, you watched it.
It was me. Yes, I praise Brian for giving me RRR, but I'm the one who gave him The Harder They Fall.
Yeah. Yes, I didn't remember, because I'm like, oh, yeah, I've heard of that, but I don't know. And he's like, no, it's good. So I'm like, okay, I'll check it out. And I love this movie. I mean, from the opening scene on, I mean, this movie has such a fresh, unique style to it. It's James Samuel. There's definitely, I see a lot of comparisons made between him and Tarantino, which, and rightfully so, because he definitely has the same kind of the use of dialogue, the use of music, even the use of some of the editing. I think he definitely has similarities there, but he definitely has his own flavor of it too. And everything about this, like every character introduction is like just this epic character introduction the first time you see them. And it's another one of those movies where you can go 20 names down the cast list, and you're still hitting like, top line stars.
Yeah.
It's a phenomenal cast assembled from top to bottom. You obviously have oh my gosh, just blank out his name. The star of it,
Jonathan Majors.
Oh my gosh, just blanked out his name completely.
Yeah, Idris Elba. You have Regina King.
Idris Elba. You got Delroy Lindo. You got it. I won't go into this. There's a whole long cast list, but it's everybody in this is phenomenal. every scene in this is phenomenal. The look of this movie, the cinematography is beautiful, whether it be just like the vistas of the western plains, to they go to this white town, which you assume they're talking about a town full of white people. It's like, nope, the town is actually just all painted white, and it just looks really cool,
really bright white,
and it looks beautiful. But really, I think the strength of this movie is in the characters and dialogue. As much as the action's awesome, and there is awesome action, especially once you get to the last act, the characters and dialogue in this are like perfect. I loved everything about this. I loved every performance in this. I loved every line of the script. And like you said, we were very excited to see what he does next. He made Book of Clarence, which I was disappointed in. I've watched it since then, and I've actually liked it more than the first time I watched it. But again, I might have been comparing it to this film.
It's fine.
It's not
Harder They Fall.
Harder They Fall. But yeah, it's another one that people, if you have not checked it out yet, definitely check it out, because it is one of my favorite films of the decade so far.
I'm trying to figure. It's between two.
Chances are, you're going to say one that I forgot, and I'm going to be pissed off. I don't know.
I feel it's there's two that I know you're talking about, and there's two that I'm like, it's got to be one of these two, and I'm just like, I can't believe he left them out. And I'm trying to figure out which one so I can talk about it now instead of later. And if I pick wrong, I'm going to be shocked that it's not the other one. So I guess I will go with this one. But you brought it up on the show, so I feel like you're going to talk about it. And if it's the other one, I'm even more shocked. So I'll go with this one. In terms of action, there's because with action, like, is this an action film? Yes. Action set pieces, I think it's more the doing of it and how they shot it than like fighting, explosions, all this kind of stuff. So I feel like this might be the one you didn't talk about, even though I know you love the movie and you love what they did. This is a sequel to a film that is 30 years old. And I was not excited for the movie. I was kind of like, oh, yeah, all right, I'll check it out. Because I think the first one is fine. I don't think it's anything special, but everyone is over the moon about the first film. I think this movie is fantastic. And I just watched it within the last 6 months. And I was watching it, and I think it was the first time for Kimberly. And she was just like, this is fucking crazy. I'm like, I know. And I was like, the way they shot it. And that's Top Gun Maverick. Did I pick the right one?
I did not have that on my list.
Okay, I'm pretty positive. If I was betting, I'd say you have the other three.
It's 40 years old next year. Yeah. Yeah,
I was going to say, it's like it was in the 80s. Top Gun Maverick. Yes, it's an action film. There's only really one real action piece in this, but I would say the training and all this is action. It's action. It is. Because you don't have to be fighting people for it to be action.
No, this is aerial combat action. Yeah,
exactly. But the way they shot this film is masterful, which is one of the reasons. Because Brian was like, "Why are you so excited about F1 this year?" I was like, "Because it's the guys who did Top Gun Maverick."
Yeah, and if you can make the cinematography based on what I saw on Top Gun.
Yeah,
the cinematography about this movie about F1 is the one thing I was most excited about. And I also love Brad Pitt, but he does have his hits and misses. But this is the main reason I'm excited about F1.
If you can make us feel like we are in that cockpit with them as they're weaving and doing all, you're going to do that with F1 racing, which is cars that go way faster than NASCAR. Sold. I want to watch that movie because I want to experience that in theaters. Top Gun Maverick is insane. The shots they pulled off in that film and the way the visualizations of everything in that movie. And then you throw in that cast. Tom Cruise is giving way more performance than he deserves to give. And he's like, this is Vin Diesel in the Fast and Furious. He wants to get an Oscar for this role. Tom is trying his damnedest in this movie, and I appreciate the fuck out of him in this because it makes sense in this movie, unlike Vin Diesel in Fast and Furious. Jennifer Connelly, the prettiest I've ever seen her. She is gorgeous in this fucking film. Then you add Miles Teller, who we were both like, Glenn Powell should have been Rooster's kid. But Miles Teller was great in the film. And then you got Glenn Powell, a guy that we champion like a motherfucker. He does so well in this goddamn movie. And this cast from top to bottom is fantastic throughout.
Yeah, I mean, there's Louis Pullman, Danny Ramirez, Manny Jacinto, John Hamm. It's like great cast.
It's such a fucking great cast. And then even Val Kilmer has a great scene that we weren't expecting. We figured, oh, he'll just be off screen because we know what's going on. And then he shows up and has such a beautiful scene with Tom Cruise.
Which
that
now resonates even more.
exactly, and you were just not prepared for that. And it's such a great scene. And like I said, that's everything outside of the action of this movie, because once you are in that cockpit and you are in these planes, even the first scene with Tom on the I don't remember what kind of plane it is, but when he's trying to get Mach 10, that is such an amazingly shot scene. And just watching all that, Top Gun Maverick is such a breathtaking experience. And if you were lucky enough, like we were, to watch that in theaters, I wish I had an IMAX near me, because the closest IMAX to me is over an hour away, and I just don't drive over an hour for a movie. And I wish I could have experienced that in IMAX, but just experiencing that in a theater was a once in a lifetime experience. Much like you can say, Avengers Endgame and stuff like that, which that's true, but experiencing Top Gun Maverick in the theater was amazing, and it deserves to be on this list.
Yeah, I did get to see it in IMAX a couple times. I actually only wish that I had one of those theaters near me. I might travel to one for F1 that has like the D-box, the 40X with the moving seats and things like that. I think it's even more fun. But
I've never been in a D-box theater before, so
there's some like in like the Chicago suburbs, which would be like an hour drive for me. But
if I still lived in Omaha, I'd have the option to do all that, but I don't. So
but yeah, this is a movie. This definitely would make it if I had a top 10. This would be in there. It just didn't quite make the cut. I did enjoy this movie. I obviously love the cast, and like I said, the cinematography, as you discussed, is probably one of the strongest points of this movie. Is it Death Star Trench Run the movie? Yeah, but I'm okay with that.
That's fucking fine. It's totally fine, and I loved it.
Fine with that. I loved it. I was mad that they gave Miles Teller the role over. I like Miles Teller, but I would have rather seen Glenn Powell get it. But instead they gave him a good role in this one. So
he was the Val Kilmer in this movie, and he killed it.
Yeah. So yeah, good choice.
Like I said, I feel like the other three
it's just a matter of order.
Yeah, which I guess we just decided which one we want to talk about.
Sure. Next one I have on my list. I'll go Fall Guy.
Fall Guy was my 4. Or was so, but yeah.
Fall Guy is my 4 as well.
Our most recent movie of the year for the movie Crusaders.
Yeah. Fall Guy is a movie made, directed, everything by David Leitch. Again, we've talked about him with 87 North Productions. He's one of the guys who started out as a stuntman, stunt coordinator, started out as Brad Pitt's stuntman, mainly in things like Troy and stuff like that. He's one of the premier directors today in terms of action. I think that he's kind of made a name for himself. He does a great job. This is based off of a 80s TV show called The Fall Guys, starring Lee Majors, which is kind of like they happen to be stuntmen. They go like, the usual thing where like some mystery or some new thing every episode to come up with it. This does away with that. It's basically the only connection to the TV show is the fact that it's about stuntmen. And this is absolutely a love letter to the stunt community. This is what the movie David Leitch wanted to make. He wanted to show people, everything that goes into it, the lives of these people, how much hard work and how they are kind of the unsung heroes. They don't get the attention and respect they deserve. There's even jokes in there about how they don't have an Oscar, but they're going to in 2027. They're going to add the stunt category.
Still way too late.
They should have just gone ahead and give it to them this past year, because they deserved it for Fall Guy. Ryan Gosling, again, so much fun to watch. Emily Blunt as the female lead. There's a lot more like romance, kind of rom-com angle to this movie than I expected. And at first I found that a little jarring. I'm like, why are they spending so much time on this romance? I mean, obviously there's going to be a love interest, but I'm like, they're spending a lot of time on this love story, which I wasn't expecting. But again, on subsequent viewings, when I saw it, knowing going in what the movie was, I was able to just fully enjoy that angle of it as well. I mean, not that I didn't enjoy it the first time, but I appreciated it more. I wasn't sitting there going, come on, get back to the action. Because the action is phenomenal. From I think it's the opening scene, Oneer, which shows all the way from him talking.
Yeah, the Oneer,
yeah. It's an authentic Oneer, no cuts or anything. They show him like walking the building and going up the elevator and getting hooked up for this fall and then jumping over the edge. From that opening scene all the way to the insane climax at the end, where it's just like stunts everywhere of every kind that you can think of. This is just kind of wall-to-wall action. It's just so well done, and it's so much fun, which if you've ever watched our channel at all, you know that for me, first and foremost, what I want going to most movies, I mean, not if I'm going into like Schindler's List or something, but what I look for in the movies that I love is fun. And this movie was totally that.
Yeah. I'd be hard pressed for anyone to do a top action films of the 2020s and leave Fall Guy out, when this is literally a movie that's all about action and stunt guys and all this kind of stuff, and showing appreciation to them and their craft. Like I said, the final act literally is everyone in the stunt team, here's your chance to get on camera. And it's like, dude, let's do this, and they all just like I loved that. Like I said, our the car chase in the middle of the film, that was our winner for Action Scene of the Year award. It was and that was just because we had like, I think every scene from Fall Guy on there. I was like, we got to pick one. And I was like, well, let's pick the car chase one, because that one was just pretty badass. I, from the beginning of the film, you know, when Brian was like, the romance, I was like, the romance is so good because the chemistry between Blunt and Gosling is so fucking great. Hell,
and it was. I had in my mind, I was like, I want to get back to the action, but like I said, when it went back,
the chemistry between Gosling and Winston Duke are great in the film as well. Our boy Aaron Johnson is fantastic in the film, and like I said, still one of the funniest movies of the year is when he was doing his Matthew McConaughey voice all the way through. I love that. Even the joke at the end with Momoa, I thought was hilarious. This movie works on so it works as a rom-com, it works as a comedy, it works definitely as action, and everything about this movie was just awesome for us. Like, it came out in, was it April last year?
Yes.
And it was our number one right when that happened, and no movie topped it. Some movies got really fucking close. Some real movies got some close, but it is the first movie, I think, for Brian and I, since we've been shooting this show, that was number one that early in the year and maintained its number one ranking the whole way through. So I knew we were going to be talking about this movie. It was just like, if it wasn't on your list, I would have slapped you. But
it wasn't on my list.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, Fall Guy. And once again, speaking of earlier, we were talking about box office. None of y'all went and saw this goddamn movie. Exactly. You're all to blame.
We don't get original movies anymore. Fuck you. Go see them.
Yeah, exactly. Furiosa was another one. And this movie was on Peacock. Was it, 27 days after it got released or some shit like that?
It was 17.
I remember I saw that announcement, and I was like, is this fucking for real? Like, let it breathe. It will make its money in the summer. Well, let it breathe.
Here's the thing, though, is it wasn't going to. It had its opening box office in a couple weeks, and it was basically getting down to almost making not very much at all. And so it's like, if they left it in theaters by the time the summer blockbusters hit, it wasn't going to make its money. The problem is people should have gone and seen it in that first month, but they didn't.
It was such a disappointment for everyone to treat that and Furiosa.
And because I think it's now the short windows, and we've talked about this before, the short windows before they hit home releases, it absolutely hurts box office. But not because if we leave it out there longer, it'll make more money. The fact of the matter is people are now trained that, I want to see this movie, but I'll wait 3 weeks and I can watch it at home. And so that's what happens. People just wait.
Yeah. And it started a horrible precedent.
Yeah.
Let's see. Next one. Do we want to end it the same way?
I have a clear number one myself, but I don't know what you have.
Well, do we want to end this the same way we ended last week's episode? Or do we want to change it up?
You make the choice.
Let's change it up.
Okay.
So obviously last week, our number one for the 2010s was the John Wick trilogy. If you want to hear our thoughts on that, you can go back and watch that. Obviously, John Wick Chapter 4 is on this list. It was my number one. I'm sure it was probably Brian's number one. But we just want to change it up a little bit. We want to leave the other movie for last. John Wick Chapter 4 took everything that the first three John Wicks did, and just when you thought that it couldn't do anything new and original with it, it did. Minus that fucking club scene, which I think they could have taken out, and I would have saved about 20 minutes, because it was 3 hours? Wasn't John Wick Chapter 4 like 3
It's
hours?
not quite 3 hours. It's 10 minutes short of 3 hours.
Yeah. You could have taken that whole Scott Adkins club scene out, and that would have saved about a 15-20 minute like subplot. But the action in this movie, just as great, if not better, than the previous 3 films. The set pieces, the staircase scene, which I mentioned on last week's episode, that was such an amazingly awesome scene. The ceiling oneer. So that was my favorite scene. It was didn't that win the award for fight scene or something like that last year? Or was it the year prior?
This was 2023.
Yeah, so that definitely won either won best action scene or best fight scene in 2023, because that ceiling one when he had the
looks like a video game shot. Yeah.
Yes, and he had the dragon. I think it was called the Dragon's Breath gun.
Yeah.
Oh my god, you can't watch that and not be like the whole way through. It's so fucking good. The attack on it's not Tokyo, Continental.
Osaka? No.
Was it Osaka? I think it was Osaka. But that whole, like, once again, levels through that whole thing, and just the beautiful shot of it. Like, it was, like, honestly one of my favorite shots in the entire fucking film. Wasn't even an action set piece. It was literally John talking to oh god, I'm blanking on his character name, but he
which
basically what's that?
Which I don't know which character you're talking about.
It was in Osaka. He was basically talking to the Winston. Osaka. Yeah. Okay. And they're outside, like on the roof or whatever, and you have that red tree. It's just like, it's such a beautiful landscape shot. I fucking love that shot so much. Right before everything went to hell. The cast is great. The action set pieces are great. Everything about John Wick Chapter 4 worked for me, except for the club scene. The club scene is the only thing that held it back for me. I hated that. I hated everything Scott Adkins. I hated the club scene because it was just people being stupid and pretending like they didn't fucking see fucking people getting murdered and shot at. Let's just keep dancing, everybody. We're going to be so good. People are going to notice me doing my fist pumping. Like, the only thing that would have made sense is that I was in the Jersey Shore. That's the only way it would have made sense, is they were there. Because they would have just stood there. But yeah, John Wick Chapter 4, like I said, I don't agree with John Wick Chapter 5 happening. But, like I said, apparently they got a good script going, so I mean, I'm obviously going to be there, night 1 to see John Wick 5 or Chapter 5, whatever the fuck they're going to call it. But yeah, John Wick Chapter 4, fantastic for what it was. Outside of
this, it's technically my number 1 for the 2020s. But we want to, like I said, we want to end this differently. This movie is everything. It takes all the John Wick movies before it, and it just like cranks everything up a notch. This is epic in the purest sense of the word. I mean, from the many locations it goes to, from just the size and scope of the action, to the character arcs even. I think everything about this movie just works perfectly for me. I think that this isn't one of those movies that makes me feel like Oscars just hate action movies, because like it's not going to win, best picture, things like that. But there are things about this movie, the cinematography, the production design, as well as of course the things like sound and stuff like that this movie should just won everything. I mean, this is a beautifully filmed movie. I mean, and not even just the action scenes. There's shots of like when the Marquis, Bill Skarsgård, is just like walking through that
in that room with all the paintings and stuff when he's talking to Winston.
Like, this looks fucking amazing. It's everything about this movie just looked beautiful. The action, of course, is flawless, once again done by all the same people who have kind of completely revitalized the whole action and stunt genre. I loved all the supporting characters. They have the tracker coming after him. They have the one you talked about in the Osaka. They looked up, it is the Osaka Continental. I'm a little mad they underused Clancy Brown, because I love Clancy Brown, but he's just got a small role in this as the Harbinger. But he's great in this. Yeah,
both of his shots were beautiful shots too. The shot where they're deciding what weapons they're sitting at the table, and then even the whole final shot.
Every scene in this movie, I'm just looking at going, I could watch this movie just muted and just watch the beautiful cinematography of this thing. Especially when it comes to things like the lighting, like you talked about the Osaka Continental, where they're having the fight like on the rooftop. You got like that kind of the neon lighting, and there's the cherry blossom trees that you were talking about are all over the place. It just looks phenomenal, and the action itself is great. The story, I thought it was a great ending to the story. I agree. I'm not sure why they're making a chapter 5. I kind of hope they don't. I kind of wish they wouldn't, but they're going to. But again, if the people involved seem to think that they found a way to make it worthwhile, I trust them. Worst case scenario, I'll file it under those sequels that don't exist and never watch it again. But I don't think that'll be the case. But in the meantime, this was the climax to the saga, and it was everything I wanted it to be and more.
Yeah. Going to our last one, and I feel like if I had not rewatched this last year with Kimberly, I would be like, yeah, well, we're talking about John Wick last. But I feel like this movie is so awesome. And just, once again, fun. Because that's another thing. Once again, action films can be fun. You add fun to it. Most of our movies that we talked about here are fun action films. And this one knows how to be brutal while looking awesome and while also just making you laugh.
And we were talking about Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Oh, wait, no, sorry.
Yes, the movie that Brian says doesn't exist. This is a fun film that I feel like Brian was way more excited for than I was. And I think Brian liked it way more than I did the first time going through. I think I had a lot of issues with kind of, them stopping and going in the beginning of the film because they were trying to, explain everybody. But watching this again, I think about a year later, knowing that stuff. That's kind of one thing, is like knowing the stuff, afterwards has definitely sweetened it a little bit better. This movie is so much fun that we had to talk about it, and that is Bullet Train. I'm gonna let Brian talk most because this is more Brian's film than mine. So take it away.
Yeah, so David Leitch again, sensing a trend here. I love his directing. He knows how to do action right. He knows how to do it perfectly, and he's just one of those directors that just matches my sensibilities of what I want to see in a movie. So obviously, action top notch. Like I said, whether it be the people fighting outside or falling outside the train, to sword fighting, to gunplay, whatever it is, masterfully done. Cinematography again looks beautiful, especially they seem to like this Japanese setting. It's used a lot of those neon lighting and things. I think it's very well done. For a film that takes place 95% just on this train, they do a great job of setting up kind of the geography of it, and you kind of know where all the characters are and how they're going to interact and what happens within this claustrophobic confines of this train. For me, the strongest thing about this, though, is once again the cast. It's one of those movies where, like something like a Smokin' Aces or something, they have like this, there's all these different either individual or teams of assassins. They all kind of have their unique styles, their unique personalities, their unique, specialties, and just the way they interact is all so perfect. Like I could watch a whole movie of just Lemon and Tangerine.
Absolutely.
Whether it be them on their, missions assassinating people, or just the two of them sitting on a train talking, I'd watch 2 hours of that because I love the chemistry between Brian Tyree Henry and Aaron Taylor Johnson. Yeah. I thought they just did a phenomenal job. All the way down to Bad Bunny, who I'm not a music guy. I'd never heard of him before this movie. I think I maybe heard the name and didn't know who he was. I think he does perfectly fine in his small role here. I think he does a good job.
The cast is great when an actress that we both love has no lines in the movie. She's just there, which is Karen Fukuhara from The Boys.
I put in my review, actually, I'm like, why did you bother casting her in this movie? Because it's like you see her in it and you've seen the badass shit she does in The Boys. She's like, oh, she's gonna turn out to be one of these assassins too. And she's nope, she's just there to deliver some water. Yep.
Yeah, she's just a waitress. She has 2 scenes in the movie and that's it. You're like, what the fuck, guys? But the cast is so strong that in spite of that, she's still But
and so this is a movie that I loved beginning to end. I think that it delivered on everything I wanted it to be, and especially with I talk about the cast, obviously the main star of it being Brad Pitt. Brad Pitt's an actor who I've always really liked. But mostly when he's in fun Brad Pitt mode. I mean, there's things like Seven that I enjoy when he's being serious, but when Brad Pitt is just having fun in a role, I think that he can be one of my favorite actors. And here he's this guy who's kind of he's going through this crisis, I don't even know if I want to do this shit anymore. like they do in so many other movies. And so he's found this zen where he's trying not to, kill people and commit violence, but he's forced to because everybody's coming at him. And he just has this kind of in over his head, kind of bewildered like look throughout the movie, which I think just works perfectly for the character. And this one's just tough.
Yeah, a movie is good when it takes an actress that you and I both don't care for, and both maybe go, have we been too harsh about her? And that's Joey King.
Joey King, who I almost put in my underrated Princess. Because Princess movie, the first time I watched it, we were almost gonna
watch that together.
We did, and we were almost watching it like, we're gonna like shit on it.
We were gonna sadomasochism it, and basically we're like, you know what? This is
kind of, it's got some cheesiness to it and stuff. We're like, this is actually kind of fun. And I watched the second time, I enjoyed it even more. And because we don't care a whole lot for Joey King. Now a lot of it's just she makes movies that aren't our kind of thing. A lot of those like
or the stuff that we do watch her in, she's just kind of a whiny child or just just an unappealing character every time we see her.
Yeah, but in this one, it worked perfectly.
Yeah, I mean, she was great in this movie, and we kept saying that if Aaron Taylor Johnson was going to become Bond, this is the movie that's going to get him Bond, because if he brings this energy to James Bond, then Brian and I are so fucking there.
And he had the whole suit thing going on too.
So yes, he looked like Bond in this movie. Granted, Bond will probably not have as long a hair, but this is the most representation of what we want to see as a new James Bond. Brian Tyree Henry is great. Just like I said, I like you. If they did another movie with just these two and it's just them just talking shit about past deaths, I'm fucking there for this. I love their movie. I love the whole Thomas the Trunk Engine thing. Not Thomas the Truck, Thomas the Train. I just love every aspect of that. Them going back and telling stories and go, no, it wasn't that guy. And it just kind of changes and everything. Brad Pitt is great as kind of this aloof assassin. Like I love like when Bad Boy, dude, I don't even know you. It's just like everything about that is great. Every level that it goes, and then you have this overarching dark cloud of this like killer that's like the boss guy. And like I think I remember watching going like I don't even know who the actor is, but by his walk, it's 100% this actor. Didn't even know he was in the movie, but I was like, that is totally gonna be this guy. And then he took us back. I'm like, oh my god, I was fucking right. And it's just like good because like that, like just the presence that this character was given is like that is that actor, and without even knowing, it was great. And then like even having like little slight jabs of like Ryan Reynolds at the end. It was like it's just like little small things like that. Bullet Train is much like Fall Guy, is a movie that even a way more brutal and violent than Fall Guy. Is a movie that you could just sit down and just it's the epitome of there's two different versions of a popcorn flick. There's a popcorn flick where it's like it's mindless fun and you can sit there and eat popcorn and just enjoy it for what it is, but don't overthink it. Or there's a movie where it's just so much goddamn fun that you can sit down and eat a whole thing of popcorn. Yeah, you're like, oh no, I'm out of popcorn. I need more popcorn. Yeah, it's like I need more popcorn. This is way too. I gotta eat popcorn while watching because it's so much fun. And that's what Bullet Train and Fall Guy and a lot of these movies are. Is that it is the fun version of a popcorn flick. And there's no bad version of a popcorn flick, but there's more like stupid, turn your brain off, or this is so fucking exciting and entertaining that I just want to engulf a whole bucket of popcorn. And Bullet Train is just one of those stylized. It looks gorgeous the whole way through. Like I said, each setting of the train feels different. It's fantastical in a way because there's just certain things that people shouldn't survive, and they do. But it is so much fun. And then you even have like someone like Sandra Bullock, who's like literally just the voice on the phone through the whole way through. But it fits. Like even with her, it's like this totally fits. Like everyone in the cast just works so well. And if you guys haven't kind of figured that out, that's what a lot of these action films we talk about in the 2020s is that it is for the most part, a group effort where everyone is on the same page and everyone works together. Whereas then I think that might be kind of the theme of the 2020s because of the 2010s and everything. It's usually a single actor or actress and then everyone else around them kind of working around them. Mm-hmm. That this is more like the cast with
Yeah, I
the
mean,
right
you have a
director.
clear lead, whether it be Keanu or a Brad Pitt or somebody, but there's just such a cast of well-defined and creative characters around them that just
Yeah,
work.
and a lot. I think the biggest thing
Nobody
is
has
that the director this time around is these maybe that is the whole new thing of the 2020s is the stunt director. These Chad Hill yep,
Stahelski.
thank you. And the guy who did, or David Leitch, and the guy who did Extraction, is you now have these guys who
The one
were
who did
stuntmen.
JJ Perry, who did like Day Shift and some other ones. He's another one who's doing some stuff.
Exactly. And which Day Shift was another one that I thought about for a second. I was like, no. I was like, that was going to be on my underrated, and I didn't do it. Where you have these guys who did the job and they know how it works, and they go, you know what would have been a great shot? Like, I remember doing this one thing, but the guy who did the camera fucking just missed off. What if we do it like this? And I'll even shoot it because I'm a stunt guy and I know how to. I can get in this dangerous area and shoot these shots. Most of these movies are because these are actors who just know how to shoot the action, and you can have either a top tier star like Tom Cruise or Keanu and make it great, or you can take these lesser known actors like a Frank Grillo or the guys from RRR, which I don't know how big they were overseas before RRR. This was kind of like their big moment, kind of acting.
I think they're both pretty major stars there, but this was their biggest hit, though.
Yeah. And you can say, hey, we could take, instead of having a star, let's have a great overarch cast and let's make something great. I mean, look at your top sports teams. Like, yes, you can have a LeBron James, but if you don't have a great team around LeBron, you ain't gonna win a championship. And that's what a lot of these things are. You can have a Brad Pitt, but do you have a great cast around Brad Pitt? And you do in Bullet Train. Tom Cruise had a great cast around him in Top Gun Maverick. John Wick, probably the best cast he's had around him. And that's kind of, I guess, 2020s is having the right directors for the job. Not saying that the directors in the previous decades weren't good, but these are the guys who lived it. Like, they were in these scenes. They know how to do these scenes.
Yeah, I just looked up because I was curious about the Day Shift guy because I forgot about him, the JJ Perry. I didn't realize he was also the director of Killer's Game, which is underrated. So
there you go. You see, he's still got acknowledged.
Another stunt director. There you go.
Yes. But what are you guys' thoughts on the 2020s or even the whole series as a whole? Did we talk about the movies that you love and praise, or did we leave something out that you guys thought that maybe we should have acknowledged in the 2020s or in the previous episodes? Let us know in the comments below. We hope you guys enjoyed Decades of Action. If you guys did, hit that like, share, subscribe button to the channel. Follow us on all the social media I'll see below. Like I said, this is not going away. We're going to continue with Decades of later down the road. Like I said, we don't know which one we're going to start with next, but let us know in the comments. What would you guys like to see? Comedy, sci-fi, fantasy, animation, comic book movies. Let us know which one you guys would like to have us start off with next, and we'll game plan and go from there. Coming up next, guess what? It's summer, guys. We got the summer movie preview coming. Honestly, it might be coming out right around the same time this comes out because we got to shoot it. We're going to be going over all the movies that we want to talk about that are coming out between May and the end of August. I feel like we have a pretty solid slate coming this summer season, and we're going to talk about all of them on here on this episode. Feel free to check that out. But we hope you guys enjoyed this journey that we went on through the Decades of Action. My name's Sean Wasserkrug. That is Brian Michaels, and we are the Movie Crusaders. And until next time, in case we don't see you, go watch some movies, go have some fun.
You're still here. It's over. Go home.